Chapter 12:57. Gu Qingli's eyes were sharp and accurate, so he was able to give Imo Zian a lot of advice. However, Imo Zian ended up staying at Gu Qingli's home for quite some time. By the time she returned to school, the school had already been locked down. Gu Qingli had no choice but to take Imo Zian back to his home. "Brother Four, why don't I go back to Hyatt Regency?" Gu Qingli ignored her as he helped her find some pajamas and told her where the bathroom was. "Don't worry, you can stay here for the night. I won't do anything overboard until you're willing." Imo Zian still felt that it wasn't a good idea, but this was her boyfriend's home. Why couldn't she just stay? So, she no longer resisted. After she had a bath in the bedroom, she walked out and noticed that Gu Qingli's study room was still lit. Seeing that he was still preparing for class, Imo Zian didn't want to disturb him. But Gu Qingli noticed her. "Zian, I need to get some rest," Imo Zian said with a red face. After all, she had no experience with things like this. After all, how long had it been since she confirmed her relationship with Gu Qingli? If the Imo family found out that she was spending the night at a man's home, wouldn't they scold her to death? But Gu Qingli had no intention of letting her escape. He quickly stood up, grabbed onto Imo Zian's arm, and pulled her into his embrace. Even so, Imo Zian could still see Gu Qingli's elegance and charm. He was still as mesmerizing as ever. "Are you that afraid of me?" Imo Zian couldn't help but take a deep breath. After she got used to Gu Qingli's scent, she finally replied, "I'm just inexperienced. I don't think a girl should do it so early. In that case, when do you think it's appropriate for us to do this?" Gu Qingli asked gently. "I don't know. You've already known me for 4 years, yet you don't want me to see you more and get to know you better?" Gu Qingli asked. After hearing this, Imo Zian was speechless. Her heart had been completely conquered by Gu Qingli. "Help me prepare for class for a while. After that, I'll let you sleep." Imo Zian buried her head in Gu Qingli's arms and nodded her head. Afterwards, she sat down with him on the sofa, leaned her head against his shoulder, and dozed off. When Gu Qingli saw this, he smiled helplessly and gently touched the bridge of Imo Zian's nose. He then carried her into the bedroom and tucked her in before turning off the lights and leaving. Inside the darkness, Imo Zian opened her eyes and closed them again in relief. After all, since Gu Qingli had made a promise, he would keep it. But Imo Zian was afraid that people would say she was too casual if she stayed overnight at her boyfriend's home so easily. The next morning, Imo Zian's roommate couldn't help but ask, "Where did you go yesterday?" He didn't return to the dormitory, nor did he change his clothes. "I went to a friend's place last night," Imo Zian explained guiltily. "Did she go to her boyfriend's house?" "We all understand. But don't you like Professor Gu anymore? You've had a crush on him for 4 years. The man on the stage was teaching seriously, but the people in the audience were absent-minded. Because of this, Gu Qingli caught hold of Imo Zian and her roommate. "Pay attention in class. Do you want to fail subject?" "I'm sorry." Imo Zian immediately apologized to Gu Qingli. "I'm sorry, Professor Gu." Her roommate also apologized to Gu Qingli. But just as Gu Qingli turned to leave, her roommate whispered to Imo Zian, "Professor Gu may be gentle, but he's also very fierce." "Stop it." Imo Zian immediately tugged on her roommate's shirt. "That's enough. You need to explain yourself when you get home." Imo Zian cleared her throat and sent Imo Zian a text. "You're being punished for not paying attention in class. It's all your fault. My roommate kept asking me where I went last night. You can tell her honestly that you spent the night at your boyfriend's place." "Professor Gu, it's still class time." After Imo Zian finished typing, she put down her phone. At this time, Gu Qingli looked in Imo Zian's direction and gave her a gentle smile. After class in the morning, Imo Zian returned to her dormitory to wash up and get changed. But, to her surprise, her roommate actually clung to her and asked, "Is it the man whose family is rich enough to drive a Maybach? Did you agree?" "No." "Then, the one whose family is full of lawyers?" "No." Imo Zian shook her head. "I went to my sister-in-law's place last night to see Xingzhe." "All right. Your answer is really boring." Mo Zian did not want anyone to know about her relationship with Gu Qingli at the moment because she didn't want people to judge him. Now, it was just right. However, after not seeing her daughter for a few days, Tongning naturally missed her. So, she gave Mo Zian a phone call and asked her to come home for dinner. Although Gu Qingli's invitation was important, he still needed to see his mother first. So, by the time Gu Qingli gave her a phone call that evening, she had already returned to Hyatt Regency. Brother 4, you can have dinner by yourself tonight. I'm going home. What a pity. I was going to take you out for candlelit dinner. As soon as she heard the words candlelit dinner, Mo Zian's eyes lit up. In that case, wait for me. Don't worry, even 10 p.m. is fine. Spend some time with your mother, Gu Qingli said thoughtfully. At that moment, Mo Zian no longer wanted to stay at home. Her heart had already flown far away. Seeing that her daughter was distracted after receiving the phone call, Tongning knew that she couldn't keep her daughter any longer. So she asked, "When will you bring her home for us to see? There will be opportunities in the future." "Is it the man you've had a crush on for a few years?" Tongning asked. "Yes," Mo Zian nodded. "Okay, you can go now." Tongning did not stop Mo Zian from leaving. After all, her daughter was all grown up and had her own thoughts. Plus, she had already liked this man for 4 years, so she wasn't going to give up so easily. But after Mo Zian left, Tongning said to her husband, "A daughter can't be compared to a son, so I need to test my son-in-law." "Okay, I'll do as you say," Mo Ting replied. After all, it wasn't going to be easy for him to take his daughter away from him. After all, how could the daughter of the Mo family marry someone of a lower status? Meanwhile, Mo Zian had no idea what her parents were thinking as she hurried over to the meeting location. When Gu Qingli saw her sweaty face, his heart ached. "Didn't I tell you not to rush? I didn't want you to wait for too long. I don't care how long it takes to wait for my girlfriend." Gu Qingli pulled out a napkin and gently wiped away the sweat on Mo Zian's forehead. He then pulled out a chair for her like a gentleman. "Come." Mo Zian sat down and said to Gu Qingli, "My mother asked me when I can bring you home to see her." Chapter 1258. In that case, when do you plan to introduce me to uncle and auntie? Gu Qingli threw the question back at her. Mo Zian's face turned red as she didn't know how to respond. Although she had liked Gu Qingli for 4 years, she felt like everything had happened too quickly and she wasn't prepared for it yet. Gu Qingli seemed to have seen through her as he let out a gentle laugh and said, "Forget it. I won't make things difficult for you. When the time is right, I'll naturally meet uncle and auntie." "Are you trying to bully me?" Mo Zian couldn't help but glare at Gu Qingli. "It seems I don't understand you well enough. Do you regret it?" Mo Zian shook her head. "My brother 4 is very charming." After the candlelit dinner, the couple danced in the dining room. To the tune of the music, they moved in sync. Mo Zian's heart fluttered, especially when she stood next to Gu Qingli and felt his warmth. Mo Zian felt dizzy and her body felt like it was floating in the clouds. This was the Gu Qingli that she liked, the elegant and charming Gu Qingli. After dinner, the couple held hands and walked home. But on the way back to her dormitory, Gu Qingli suddenly said, "I actually have a lot of rooms at my place. What do you think?" "You do have a lot of rooms and the decor is warm. I like it." Mo Zian completely missed the hidden meaning in Gu Qingli's words. "What I mean is, it's spacious even if another person lives there. What do you think? Are there any guests coming to your place?" After hearing this, Gu Qingli couldn't help but laugh. In fact, he laughed for quite some time. "I'm not sure if the guests will be going. But, as the owner, when will you be able to move in?" Mo Zian finally realized what Gu Qingli was trying to say. "Brother 4, can you not beat around the bush?" After laughing, Gu Qingli patted Mo Zian on the head. "I don't think I beat around the bush. You're the one that's too stupid." "Are you serious?" "Okay, take some time to think about it." Gu Qingli nodded and placed a kiss on Mo Zian's forehead. "Good night." Mo Zian couldn't think straight, especially after returning to the dormitory. As she lay in bed, her mind kept replaying Gu Qingli's words. When would she, the owner of the house, be able to move in? She wanted to, but she felt that it was not that step yet. Because of this, Mo Zian alerted her roommates. Zian, even if you can't sleep, you don't have to take revenge on society, do you? Her roommate had dark circles under her eyes and was very resentful towards her. Let me ask you, how long do you think it's appropriate for a couple to live together? It's so late at night. Are you crazy? His roommate muttered. At first, Mo Zian thought they would complain for a bit, roll over, and go back to sleep. But, to her surprise, a few minutes later, someone replied, "Love doesn't really have a time limit. Did you think that the longer time passes, the deeper the relationship becomes? Actually, it's all lies. That's why I think that once the relationship is in place, you can live together. I think that as long as two people share the same values, it's only natural for them to live together, right? Do you really want your parents to set off firecrackers to celebrate? That's the only way you can feel it," another roommate replied. "I think the most important thing is whether you trust your partner or not. Any relationship is filled with difficulties. It all depends on how determined you are. If you're overly cautious and always consider what other people in your family think, then your partner will eventually leave you." After hearing their responses, Mo Zian realized that the last one was the one that she liked the most. Indeed, every time Gu Qingli mentioned that he was making progress, the first thing she considered was whether her parents would think that she was being too casual. She actually liked and desired Gu Qingli a lot. So, why couldn't she just follow her heart and honestly make a decision? "Thank you. It's the middle of the night. Stop messing around and go to sleep." After receiving their response, Mo Zian felt a lot more at ease and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, the first thing she did when she woke up was pull out her phone and send Gu Qingli a text. "I think I can give it a try." Huh? Gu Qingli didn't quite understand what she meant. "What I mean is, I'm willing to try being the other host in your home. So, find a nice sunny day and pack your luggage. I'll come pick you up." After Mo Zian saw this, she smiled sweetly. However, that day, another sensational incident happened at the school. One of the four most popular actresses of the current generation, an actress with a lot of fame, actually chose to continue her education at the school. As a result, the school was surrounded by all sorts of media outlets early in the morning. This was the power of the media. It didn't take long before Mo Zian arrived at the classroom. However, there was a familiar yet unfamiliar face in the classroom. She had a hot body and a pretty face. Normally, they would only see her on TV, but today, they would see her in person. Mo Zian thought to herself, "She's just an artist from Hyrule." But the other students in the class immediately gathered around to watch. Mo Zian simply wanted to attend Gu Qingli's class in peace. But it was obvious that this person's arrival was bound to cause a commotion. Even after class, the entrance to the classroom was still noisy. Gu Qingli naturally furrowed his brows. Mo Zian knew that this was a sign that he was about to get angry, even if he didn't show it on his face. "I'm aware that a very famous student had joined our class, but I hope that you can protect the public environment and try not to disturb others. Today's class will be self-study. Because there were too many distractions, Gu Qingli couldn't attend class at all." The woman lifted her head and glanced at Gu Qingli with an unreadable expression before she lowered her head again. It was hard to tell what she was thinking. This woman's name was Ji Mei. Seeing that Gu Qingli rarely got angry, Mo Zian sent him a text. "You'll get old if you get angry. Focus on your self-study. I'll deal with you after class." Mo Zian stuck out her tongue at Gu Qingli, and Gu Qingli looked at her dotingly. Ji Mei noticed all of this. As soon as the bell rang, Ji Mei raised her hand and said to Gu Qingli, "Professor Gu, I have a few questions to discuss with you." "Let's talk here," Gu Qingli said as he leaned against the lectern. "But it's not very convenient. You don't want me to attend class in such a large crowd every time, do you?" "That's your problem, not mine." Gu Qingli refused to back down. Chapter 1259. "Professor Gu, you're so insensitive," Ji Mei said helplessly. "You're a student and I'm a teacher. Please mind your status and mind your words." After speaking, Gu Qingli put away his textbook and said to his classmates, "Class dismissed." For some reason, Mo Zian noticed from Gu Qingli's reaction that he was slightly strict towards Ji Mei, It was almost like he was wary of her. Afterwards, Ji-mei went to Gu Qingli's office to look for him, but apparently, she did not see him. That afternoon, Imo Zian received a phone call from Gu Qingli. He wanted to pick her up for dinner, so Imo Zian took the opportunity to ask, I feel like you're particularly strict towards Ji-mei. Is she an old acquaintance? A look of surprise flashed across Gu Qingli's eyes. Then he smiled, so you're already able to sense the subtle changes in my emotions. I've been observing him for 4 years, Imo Zian said unhappily. Gu Qingli chuckled and placed a kiss on Imo Zian's forehead before he replied. If you were Ji-mei, would you spend so much time studying something that has nothing to do with you? Imo Zian shook her head. I'm too busy trying to make money right now. I don't have the time. Then, isn't that all? Silly. I'm afraid that Ji-mei's appearance at school was sent by Auntie and Uncle to test her. Imo Zian was stunned. What's there to be confused about? Auntie and Uncle are worried about their daughter, so they'll test their son-in-law. This is what I expected. Gu Qingli laughed as he gestured for Imo Zian to sit on his lap. Imo Zian's face flushed red as she nodded her head. Your analysis makes sense. If it's really a test from my parents, you need to handle it well. In that case, were you satisfied with my performance today? Do you really think that Ji-mei isn't pretty? Imo Zian asked. A lot of men are completely smitten by her. For me, there's only one you in the world. That's perfect. Everything else isn't what I care about. With these words from Gu Qingli, Imo Zian made up her mind. I'm going to move tonight. After all, I don't have a lot of things in my dormitory. Have you thought it through? I can't be clearer. I trust you, Imo Zian replied as she wrapped her arms around Gu Qingli's neck. No matter what her parents thought, this was the man she had loved for 4 years. It was a long time. Plus, she wasn't afraid of getting hurt. So, she didn't think she should consult anyone's opinion. Didn't Mommy always say that? No matter what decision you make, whether it's right or wrong, as long as you make a choice, you must have the courage to bear the consequences. Since that was the case, what was there for her to hesitate about? Didn't Mom and Dad also get married in a flash marriage and still love each other? With this thought, Imo Zian made up her mind. So, after dinner, Imo Zian returned to her dormitory to pack her luggage. His roommate was speechless. What's wrong with you now? I'm going home, Imo Zian replied. Whatever, you've been a little paranoid lately. Imo Zian's roommate shook her head and looked at Imo Zian helplessly. Imo Zian left a small gift for her roommate and left with her luggage. At this time, Gu Qingli's car was waiting downstairs. He drove Imo Zian back to his apartment and carried her luggage into his bedroom. Go put your things in a closet. I've already cleared out half of the space for you. But, Brother Four, I don't want to move at all. Packing is too tiring. As soon as Gu Qingli heard this, he patted the space next to him and said, In that case, I'll hug you to sleep for a bit. Leave your things here. I'll pack them. Imo Zian was satisfied. Gu Qingli's doting made her feel blessed. Soon, Imo Zian fell into a deep sleep. Gu Qingli shook his head and lifted her in his arms helplessly. He then placed her on the bed in the bedroom. After preparing for class, he helped her pack her clothes and headed into the bedroom to wash up. After Imo Zian woke up, Gu Qingli was still in the bathroom. Imo Zian's heart was racing. She had a feeling that something was going to happen on a night like this. But after Gu Qingli finished his shower, he lay down beside her tiredly and did not do anything inappropriate. He simply placed his arm around her waist and helped her tuck in. Imo Zian once wanted to find a man like Imo Ting, a man who was decisive and ruthless, just so he could make his beloved wife happy. But after meeting Gu Qingli, Imo Zian began to imagine that someone as elegant as Gu Qingli must have lived a life of art. Just as she expected, Gu Qingli's life was indeed exquisite, and he was truly gentle. At times, Imo Zian couldn't help but wonder, was she too lucky? Or was Gu Qingli hiding it even better? If all of this was true, then God had bestowed such a good man to her. Should she shed tears of gratitude? Gu Qingli's elegance came from deep within his bones. He completely inherited his temperament from his father. Plus, did this mean that the two of them were officially living together? Zian was still a little confused, but when she looked at the wardrobe with their clothes and the dresser with her makeup, she finally realized that everything was real. There was no doubt this was real. The next day, Zian woke up in bed to find that the space next to her was empty. By the time she walked downstairs in her pajamas, Gu Qingli had already tidied up the room and prepared breakfast. Come and eat. I'm going to go to school first. Don't forget, you have class in the second period. Okay. Zian nodded. At this time, Gu Qingli picked up his briefcase and asked, "Have you eaten?" "Silly, look at the time," Gu Qingli said before he hurried out of the house. He simply wanted to see what time Zian would wake up. But who would have thought? The silly girl was actually a good sleeper. Zian's face flushed red. After eating, she washed up in her room and headed out. However, things are different from yesterday. Although Jimei attended class today, she had already gotten rid of all the followers from the day before. But the expression on her face in class was obviously provoking Gu Qingli. "You said that I'm a hindrance to everyone, so shouldn't you praise me for solving the problem?" But Gu Qingli's gaze was still cold. Not hindrance to others was the most basic of morals. So what was there to praise? So Jimei couldn't take it anymore. So she stood up and asked Gu Qingli, "Professor Gu, do you have something against me?" "I don't have anything against you. Please don't force yourself. That's all. Class is over." Gu Qingli's merciless actions made Jimei lose face. If this was an ugly lecturer, he would have been scolded to death. But this was Gu Qingli, the elegant Gu Qingli that was like a prince from a painting. No matter what he did, he should be forgiven. Chapter 1260. Like this, the news of the superstar being rejected by Gu Qingli spread like wildfire. Gu Qingli had been a professor for many years, but he had never said anything like this to anyone, apart from Jimei. But rumors of the professor and the superstar quickly spread like wildfire. I feel like there's something going on between Professor Gu and Jimei. Otherwise, why would a superstar like her come to our school to further her studies? I think so too. No matter how I look at it, it looks like they're in a love-hate relationship. Jimei must be interested in Professor Gu, but Professor Gu is cold towards her. Professor Gu is the best resource at our school. It's not surprising that Jimei is interested in him. Plus, hasn't Professor Gu appeared on TV for the school's promotion? Along the way, Zian and her roommates heard all sorts of discussions. They completely linked Gu Qingli and Jimei together and imagined a love-hate relationship. "Zian, don't tell me that your Professor Gu has actually been stolen by that female celebrity?" Zian smiled and shook her head. How could Professor Gu be stolen that easily? That's hard to say. Professor Gu has always announced that he's married and is polite to everyone. But Jimei is the only exception. How come all I see is rejection? Zian asked. That's the strange part. When has Professor Gu ever been so fierce to someone? He's obviously only treating his own people. These people's guesses were getting more and more ridiculous. Zian couldn't be bothered with them as she left the classroom. But during lunch, she told Gu Qingli what her roommates were thinking. Everyone thinks that your attitude toward Jimei is too special. That means there's something ambiguous going on. Seriously, Gu Qingli didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In that case, what should I do to prove that I hate the superstar? I don't care what other people think. I trust you, Zian said. Besides, you're from Hyrule, so I don't think I have the right to blame you. I'm glad you understand. But from Gu Qingli's perspective, he felt it was necessary to reassure Zian's roommates, even though he did not tell Zian about this. After all, Zian would think that he was taking a huge risk and that he might lose his reputation and his job. After all, although a teacher-student relationship didn't seem like much at first glance, if one looked closely, it would still mess up the seniority. But Gu Qingli didn't care. He simply wanted Zian to feel at ease. At least, the people around her weren't bad-mouthing him, but praising him. However, Zian never had the chance to express her thoughts. That was until one day, when Zian told Gu Qingli that she would be returning home late because she was having dinner with a girl from her dorm. Gu Qingli nodded and told her to be careful. He also asked where they were having dinner and that he could pick her up later. As she was afraid of being exposed, Immerse Zian only gave Gu Qingli her address. She didn't need Gu Qingli to drive her there. She could just call a cab home herself. Gu Qingli had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, so how could he let it go so easily? So, when he saw the address that Immerse Zian sent him, he couldn't help but smile. Her roommates were happily having a meal in the exquisitely decorated steakhouse while the other three attacked Immerse Zian together. How long has it been since you last ate with us? What do you think? Have you been in a relationship lately? Where's your favorite Professor Gu? Your guesses are ridiculous. Immerse Zian quickly surrendered. Let's eat our steak. Hurry and eat your steak. It won't taste good when it's cold. Speaking of Professor Gu, I also want to talk about Ji Mei. Is there something going on between the two of them? Immerse Zian rolled her eyes helplessly. She didn't want to waste her breath on these people. Can't you guys talk about something else? Oh, it seems like you still care about Professor Gu. Why are you so protective of him? The girls continued to joke around like they were back in university. Soon, they chatted until late into the night. Afterwards, they decided to call a cab and leave. Just as Immerse Zian pulled out her phone, she heard a magnetic voice call out to her, Zian. Immerse Zian turned around to find Gu Qingli standing behind them with her jacket in his hand. Oh God, Professor Gu. The three roommates let out different sighs, especially when they saw Immerse Zian's jacket in Gu Qingli's hand. Didn't I tell you not to come? Did you think I'd let you go home on your own? Gu Qingli draped the jacket over Immerse Zian's shoulders and wrapped his arm around her shoulders. I don't think I need to introduce myself, do I? No need. No need. The three roommates waved their hands. I'll leave Zian in your care. Gu Qingli showed off his scholarly side and fooled his roommates. Of course, of course. Since that's the case, I'll take her home now. Do you want me to give you a lift? No need. The roommates shook their heads. They still needed time to gossip. If they didn't talk about such explosive news late into the night, they would be letting the person in question down. Immerse Zian looked at them helplessly. In the end, Gu Qingli led her to his car. I suddenly realized that you're as cunning as a fox. If I'm not like a fox, how am I supposed to earn money to support my family? Gu Qingli laughed. How can you laugh? If this gets out, do you still want to be a professor? Of course I'm going to be a beast. Don't you trust your roommates? Gu Qingli was 100% sure that Immerse Zian's roommates would secretly feel good about it, but they would never spread it around. Of course I trust you. Then isn't that all? Gu Qingli's words made sense, but Immerse Zian still felt like something wasn't quite right. But because she was being tricked by this man, she couldn't react in time. I don't think I'm a match for you. You're too good at tricking people. Zian, you've already watched me for 4 years. Haven't you seen my cunning side? Gu Qingli smiled as he stopped the car. He then lifted Immerse Zian's chin and gently kissed her. For your sake, I don't mind losing a few things. I simply don't want you to always hear about my relationship with other people from your roommates. I want them to know that I'm yours and that I'm part of the Immerse family. After hearing Gu Qingli's sweet words, Immerse Zian was completely helpless. This man was too good at flirting. His methods were brilliant and left no traces behind. I want to find a time to tell my mommy that we're living together. Is this considered living together? We're simply living under the same roof. Gu Qingli emphasized, please tell mother-in-law that I'm a well-behaved person. Chapter 1261. Ever since her roommates found out about Immerse Zian and Gu Qingli's relationship, they would tease her every now and then. You're so mean. Since you've already gotten Professor Gu, why didn't you tell us? That's right. You even made us badmouth Professor Gu. We haven't been together for a long time, so I didn't think it was the right time, Immerse Zian explained. Fine, it's my fault. I'll apologize to you and treat you to a big meal afterwards. Is that okay? That's more like it, one of her roommates humphed. But Zian, what about Ji Mei? She obviously has a crush on the professor too. Immerse Zian wasn't worried as she replied. Brother Four isn't that kind of person. Brother Four, are you bullying a single dog? Immerse Zian smiled and ignored them. As long as she trusted Gu Qingli, that was enough. But the latest news was that Ji Mei had begun clinging onto Gu Qingli. Whenever he appeared, Ji Mei would approach him. It seemed she was obsessed with creating an image of herself as a madman. So, the news was filled with hot topics like Ji Mei falling in love with the professor and Ji Mei's pure love. This was obviously the second stage of her test. Gu Qingli was well aware of this. After all, for many men, a superstar like Ji Mei was hard to get rid of. She was beautiful and capable. She was the ideal couple that many men dreamed of. If a man wasn't loyal, it was easy for him to be tempted by her. Even the people around Gu Qingli questioned him. Ji Mei is obviously here because of you. How could you not agree to it? She's such a beautiful woman with such curves. Are you still not satisfied? Ji Mei even bought a cake for the entire office because of you. She's really good at socializing. You should just agree. Every time Gu Qingli heard someone say something like this, he would say, teachers and students aren't allowed to fall in love. To make everyone shut their mouths. After all, even 10 Ji Meis couldn't compare to one Emozian. So, he wasn't going to make an exception so easily. You're so hard to talk to. Gu Qingli chuckled as he continued to talk. After returning home, he acted like an old man and tried to correct Emozian's bad habits. For example, lying in bed and looking at her phone at night. Don't I look better than a phone? Gu Qingli asked. Brother 4, is Ji Mei really clinging to you? Emozian put down her phone as she felt a strong sense of danger. Gu Qingli couldn't help but laugh. After laughing, he pulled Emozian into his embrace. I only have you in my heart. Even if there were 10 Ji Meis, it wouldn't matter. But you can't always be pestered by her like this. Are you anxious? Gu Qingli pinched Emozian's cheek and nodded. Let Brother 4 think of something. Emozian lay on top of Gu Qingli's body and smelled the fresh scent of the forest. She was intoxicated by the pleasant smell, so she quickly closed her eyes and fell asleep. But Gu Qingli suffered. He had the woman he loved in his arms, but he couldn't do anything to her. He didn't even want to wake her up. Sigh. You're such a troublesome little idiot. Even though he said this, Gu Qingli still pulled out the ring that he had prepared and put it on Emozian while she was asleep. Then he put on the man's ring. So, the next day, news of Professor Gu's marriage once again spread throughout the school. To avoid arousing suspicion, he specifically put on a ring on his finger. He did this to let everyone know that he was married. I never thought that Professor Gu was actually married. It seems Ji Mei has no chance. I agree. Professor Gu must really like his wife. That's why he rejected someone like Ji Mei. Inside the school, the teachers and students were all discussing this matter. At this time, Gu Qingli was in his office saying some harsh words to his colleagues. Everyone from now on, please don't eat anything that Ji Mei sends you. I have a feast waiting for you because I am indeed married. Okay, old Gu, I thought you were joking. Were you going to bring sister-in-law over to meet her? His colleague asked. You'll get your chance very soon. That way, the entire school would know that Gu Qingli was married and that he was wearing a wedding ring. If Ji Mei continued to pester him, the news would no longer appear as a pure campus love story. Instead, she would appear as a third party that ruined someone's marriage. Ji Mei knew the severity of the situation, so she had no choice but to avoid it and let Gu Qingli off the hook for now. Emozian was the most confused. When she woke up in the morning, Gu Qingli was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he was wearing a golden ring. What did this mean? Was he proposing? Getting engaged? Getting married? This man didn't even say a word before he put the ring on her finger. Afterwards, Emozian went to class. As soon as she heard that Gu Qingli was wearing a ring to class, she almost spat out a mouthful of water. Afterwards, she immediately removed the ring on her finger. It turned out this man was trying to avoid Ji Mei, but she couldn't deny that she was overjoyed, especially when the two ran into each other in the cafeteria during lunch. When Emozian saw the ring on Gu Qingli's finger and realized it was a pair with hers, she was even happier. Where's the ring? Gu Qingli asked. It's in my pocket, Emozian said as she patted her pocket. Brother 4, everyone now knows that you're married. Gu Qingli gulped but he did not say a word. He simply continued to eat elegantly until he returned home after class that night. Then, he pressed Immerse against the wall and asked, "Since the school has already spread news of my marriage, when are you going to help me pass it off as the real deal? Who proposes like this?" Immerse grumbled unhappily. "Idiot." Gu Qingli patted Immerse on the head and let go of her. "Of course, I have to personally ask my in-laws to hand you over to me in front of them. That's the only way to get it over with." "Really?" Gu Qingli nodded his head. "Go have a shower and go to bed. I'll go have a shower then." Over the past few days, Gu Qingli deliberately stayed in the study room, while Immerse had her shower, because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to control himself. But the little brat was obviously not wary of him at all. She didn't even lock the bathroom door from the inside when she showered. As the bathroom was made of glass, even though it wasn't transparent, Immerse's figure was still very alluring under the light. So, Gu Qingli felt like he had lost control tonight, especially when he saw Immerse step out of the bathroom, her fair legs and bare ankles. Chapter 1262. What's wrong? You're really not wary of me at all, Gu Qingli said as he lifted Immerse in his arms. But I want to go back on my word tonight. Immerse froze. She suddenly felt like a lamb that was about to be delivered to a wolf as she stuttered. "Brother Four, I'm inexperienced." "Me neither," Gu Qingli replied naturally. "In the past, I've never had a woman," Gu Qingli replied honestly, "because no one has ever made my heart race and my mind go muddled. You're the only one that's been able to do it. Immerse, you're amazing." Immerse's face slowly turned red as she suggested, "Why don't you go have a shower? Let's go together." After speaking, Gu Qingli carried Immerse back into the bathroom and placed her on the sink. Afterwards, he hooked his long fingers under Immerse's chin and gently kissed her. Immerse was nervous and scared, so she wrapped her arms around Gu Qingli's neck. But at the same time, it felt good and exciting. Neither of them had experienced the love between a man and a woman before. Because of this, the gentleness at first became so intense. Immerse was originally only wearing a bathrobe, but after Gu Qingli tugged at her, a large portion of her skin was revealed, and it made one's imagination run wild. Afterwards, Gu Qingli removed his suit jacket, revealing his muscular chest and abs. Immerse's face turned even redder. "Xian, look at me." Gu Qingli held Immerse's face in his hands and looked into her misty eyes. "I want you. Right now, right now." Immerse couldn't reject him, so she could only respond instinctively. Her response was shaky, but it was filled with passion. Soon, the couple were completely naked with the shower head on. The couple's kiss became more intense as their bodies reacted more and more instinctively. At that moment, Immerse's brain couldn't think straight. In fact, she didn't even consider that she needed to be on a comfortable bed. Gu Qingli was knowledgeable. Even though it was his first time, he still knew how to reduce a woman's pain. So, he was extremely considerate of the little idiot's feelings. The light in the bathroom looked hazy in the bedroom, but the two people in the bathroom drew an embarrassing shape on the bathroom glass. A magnetic voice, a low moan of relief. By the time Immerse woke up, she was already lying on a comfortable bed. The discomfort in her body made her curl up into a ball and not dare to move. Gu Qingli smiled lovingly and pulled Immerse into his arms. "This is what you call living together. Fourth brother, you're so bad." "Only you." Gu Qingli kissed her forehead and coaxed her to rest. After tasting the secret fruit, Immerse really wanted to taste it again. But Immerse's body wasn't ready yet, so he didn't force it. The couple fell asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, Immerse opened her eyes. She blushed when she saw Gu Qingli's muscular chest. "Good morning, fourth brother. Little idiot." Gu Qingli stood up and revealed his perfect figure. Immerse immediately covered her eyes. Was this man starting to act so recklessly in front of her? "You've already seen it. Is there a need to hide it?" Gu Qingli chuckled. "I'm not used to it." Immerse turned around. "Your class is in the third period. Get some more sleep. Gu Qingli instructed. I'll prepare breakfast for you. When you're ready, get up and eat it. Okay, hurry and leave. Seeing how eager Imo Zian was to chase him away, Gu Qingli walked over to her and asked, Are you regretting it? No. Imo Zian shook her head. I'm just not used to it yet. Even if you regret it, it's too late, silly girl. After speaking, Gu Qingli placed a kiss on Imo Zian's forehead. But this kiss was out of control. Gu Qingli was completely addicted to it. So, in the end, Professor Gu ended up taking sick leave for the first time in his career. Meanwhile, Imo Zian did not attend any other classes. As soon as her roommates saw this, they knew that something must have happened between the couple. Don't tell me it's too intense in bed and you can't get out of bed? I think so too. The couple spent the entire day in bed. Of course, they didn't linger around each other. They simply rested. Imo Zian felt like she was surrounded by happiness. She had no idea that her husband was sick at home at this time. At the time of Tangning's phone call, Gu Qingli and Imo Zian were having dinner. The couple were wearing matching rings and drinking wine. It was obvious they were a newlywed couple. But as soon as Tangning mentioned that Imo Ting was sick, she immediately stood up in a hurry. Your father has caught a cold. It's been a few days. Are you going to come home too? Have you regained your courage? Mommy, I'll be home soon, Imo Zian said anxiously. It's good that you know how to come home. Seeing her anxious expression, Gu Qingli immediately helped her with her clothes and packed her belongings. Are you going home? My father is sick. I need to go home to see what's wrong. I'll take you home, Gu Qingli offered. It'll be faster that way. Okay, Imo Zian nodded. She had no idea that this was the night that Gu Qingli would be meeting with his parents-in-law. The couple drove in a Hyatt Regency. But, to their surprise, Tangning was waiting at the entrance. Imo Zian felt quite awkward, so she had no choice but to ask Gu Qingli to get out of the car and see her mother. Gu Qingli maintained his usual elegance. After getting out of the car, he politely extended his hand. Hello, Annie. I've heard a lot about you. Tangning smiled. Why don't you go in first? I was originally supposed to visit you and Uncle, but something happened today, so I didn't have time to prepare. I'm a little sorry. It's fine. Tangning displayed the authority of an elder. From the looks of it, she was planning to make things difficult for Gu Qingli. Zian, go see your father first. Imo Zian knew that Tangning was purposely sending her away. But there was nothing she could do about it. I'll go first then. Mommy, I know, I won't bully your precious child, Tangning said helplessly. As the saying went, a married daughter was like spilled water. This was definitely true. Then, she looked at Gu Qingli. He was still as elegant and calm as ever without a trace of panic. From the looks of it, he wasn't simple at all. Mr. Gu, please have a seat, Tangning said as they entered the living room. I heard that you're my daughter's professor. Yes, Auntie. In that case, what do you think about teacher-student relationships? Tangning asked. As soon as Gu Qingli heard this, he laughed without a trace of panic. A good teacher and a helpful friend. It's inevitable for feelings to develop between teachers and students of similar ages. But restraint is the only way to show one's humanity. If there's someone that can't be restrained, then even if it means losing everything, I wouldn't want to miss out on this precious person. After hearing Gu Qingli's words, Tangning's gaze softened a little. He was indeed a broad-minded and cultured man. Chapter 1263. In that case, Professor Gu, do you know anything about my husband? Tangning continued to ask. Who in Beijing doesn't know? Who doesn't know? Gu Qingli replied naturally. President Imo has been in the business world for so many years and has always been invincible. In that case, don't you think that in terms of temperament, you and my husband are quite similar? I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm worried that Zian is looking for her father's shadow in you, and that she doesn't feel love for you. After hearing Tangning's words, Gu Qingli lowered his head and thought for a few seconds. He then lifted his head and replied, Auntie, I feel that President Imo and I are completely different people. Plus, I'm sure Zian can tell us apart. Most importantly, a relationship is between two people. If I can't tell that she truly likes me then, I wouldn't continue this relationship. Tongning carefully observed Gu Qingli. From this young man, she could tell that he was serious, strict, calm, and had the ability to remain calm in the face of danger. This was a man with charisma. In that case, what are your plans from now on? As you know, Xian is now the successor of Hai Rui. From now on, she will definitely be very busy. Auntie, you don't have to worry about this. Apart from teaching, I also have various investments. So, I can manage her time well. Don't worry. This man's answers were flawless. Tongning couldn't think of a reason to reject him, nor could she think of a way to make things difficult for her son-in-law. So, she surrendered. You need to understand that as a mother, if I find out that my daughter has a crush on someone and hasn't responded to her for over 4 years, I would be very worried and sad. I'm sorry. Auntie, it was my mistake. I missed Xian's letter, so I found out too late. But I will definitely make it up to her. The couple chatted in the living room for quite some time. A moment later, Xian walked out of her bedroom and approached them. What bad things have you been saying behind my back? You've only gotten past me today, but you haven't gotten past her father, Tongning said as she stood up. I understand, Auntie. Plus, her father has been ill for the past few days, so there's no one to take charge of Hai Rui. She can't be willful and needs to return to work. Okay, I'll make sure to arrange her homework and work schedule. Gu Qingli naturally took on the heavy responsibility. Since that's the case, do as you please. I'm going in to take care of your father. After speaking, Tongning headed straight for her bedroom. As for Xian, she could do whatever she wanted, as long as she didn't forget that she had to work at Hai Rui the next day. What did my mommy tell you? After Tongning left, Xian immediately asked Gu Qingli, did my mother make things difficult for you? Isn't it normal for a mother-in-law to make things difficult for her son-in-law? Gu Qingli asked. He then smiled comfortingly. Auntie is actually very understanding. Don't be afraid. That's more like it. Xian was satisfied as she left Hyatt Regency with Gu Qingli. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Ting was lying on the bed with a cold expression on his face. He was still the iron-blooded CEO, but his body was no longer the same as before. Has Xian left? Ting, I just had a chat with Professor Gu. He is a successful young man. No wonder our daughter likes him. But I still need you as a father to agree. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest easy. Ting brushed his wife's hair behind her ear and looked at Tongning. I like the person that you like. Since that's the case, you should get married as soon as possible so we don't have to worry anymore. How can I do that? After all, this is about our daughter's marriage. Ting wrapped his arms around his wife with a strong sense of love. It seemed, no matter how much time passed, he would always be able to dote on his precious little darling. For me, you're the most important thing in my life. Although Ting had already announced that Xian would be taking over Hai Rui, she still hadn't made an appearance as the CEO, so the staff at Hai Rui didn't really respect her. But now that Ting was sick, it was obvious that he wanted to throw this burden onto Xian so that she couldn't avoid it anymore. Although Xian was a little flustered, she did not push away her responsibility. After all, she had already achieved her main goal of staying at the university. So, whether she went to school or not no longer mattered. Brother 4, I'm going to Hai Rui tomorrow. You need to help me. You? Since President Mo has given you such a heavy responsibility, it means that you're not lacking in capabilities. Plus, you know what you're doing with the proposals that you previously asked me to look at. You're simply lazy, Gu Qingli scolded. It's such a shame that I won't be able to walk around the university freely from now on. I was the reason why you stayed at the university. Now that you've achieved your goal, why waste more time? Gu Qingli asked as he sat on the edge of the bed. Xian smiled and nodded her head. That's true. So, the next day, Xian had no choice but to put on a white suit and head to work at Hai Rui. Meanwhile, Gu Qingli returned to school as usual. However, Xian's roommates didn't see Xian for a few days, so they were curious. Could it be that Gu Qingli was acting as a groom every night and causing her to be bedridden? In the end, the roommates couldn't help but ask Gu Qingli after class, Professor Gu, what's wrong with Xian? Why isn't she coming to class? I'm afraid she won't be coming to class for a while. She's gone back to work, but she didn't tell us that she found a job. Gu Qingli smiled meaningfully. It seemed Mo Zian was keeping a low profile at the university and didn't let anyone know that she was the new CEO of Hai Rui. I'll let her tell you all about it later. She's being so mysterious. The roommates looked at each other, but they had no way of getting any more information out of Gu Qingli. All they could do was wait for Mo Zian to return to school before they interrogated her. Meanwhile, how was the new CEO of Hai Rui doing? She didn't have the cold and authoritative aura of Mo Ting at all. Instead, she sat in her seat on the board of directors, looking extremely young. But during the meeting, she listened attentively to the report, even though she looked more like an intern than the new CEO. After the relevant departments finished explaining the situation, Mo Zian finally said, PR department, although this is a report, it's not a complete lack of information. Last month, the 2 PR events that your department was responsible for didn't seem to be very successful. Can you briefly explain the situation? Chapter 1264. The atmosphere in the meeting room suddenly became tense. All the departments thought that Mo Zian would be easy to trick, so they avoided the important points during the presentation. But who would have thought Mo Zian would notice something was off? Singer Qin Jian had an affair. Because your PR department missed the perfect opportunity to expose him, the media blew it up and Qin Jian is still hiding overseas. This could have been avoided. As for the actress Li Jia, it was revealed that she worked in a nightclub before she debuted. Not only did the PR department fail to suppress the matter, the media even attacked them. This is the greatest humiliation in the history of Hai Rui's PR. What's wrong? My father may be sick, but I'm wide awake. The manager of the PR department will be suspended and replaced by the vice president. The other departments will continue. No one expected that a seemingly innocent and harmless little girl would have such destructive power as soon as she opened her mouth. Everyone had been fooled by her appearance. But if they thought about it carefully, this was Mo Ting's daughter, the CEO that was personally promoted. Was she really as innocent as she looked? Following on, the atmosphere in the meeting room became a lot more serious. This made Feng Yu, who was observing through the crack in the door, smirk. The little brat was used to being innocent, so these people had no idea how capable she was. But in reality, Mo Zian had been influenced since she was young, so she knew everything that was going on in Hai Rui like the back of her hand. So, how could a child raised by this couple be simple? This was the atmosphere for a meeting. As soon as Mo Zian arrived, she showed everyone her power by using the PR department as an example to establish her authority. This also let everyone know that she was young, but it didn't mean that she was easy to trick. Afterwards, the planning department made a few suggestions. They even mentioned which project Hai Rui would focus on for the next half of the year and which artists they would focus on promoting. Mo Zian thought about the projects that she and Gu Qingli had discussed a few days ago. She felt that 2 of the projects had potential, so she placed a proposal on the table and said to the planning department, "Put aside the projects that you discussed for now. If you're still working with us, then continue working with us. As for new projects, I have a few good suggestions." The people in the planning department looked at each other in confusion. Luckily, Mo Zian only laid off the people in the PR department and did not investigate the other departments. Otherwise, everyone would be trembling in fear. But the meaning behind Mo Zian's actions was obvious. The fate of the PR department was the best example for them. During this meeting, the staff at Hai Rui were extremely nervous and uneasy. But no matter what, they had to change their opinion of a new CEO of Hai Rui. After a day of work, Mo Zian felt like her entire body was about to fall apart. Being the CEO of Hai Rui was indeed not easy. She had actually done a lot of preparation the night before, and with Gu Qingli's guidance, she wasn't fooled by those old foxes. Now that he thought about it, the young were indeed looked down upon. When Gu Qingli saw her throwing her high heels everywhere, he couldn't help but follow behind her to clean them up. "It's only been a few days, and you can't take it anymore?" "Fourth brother, that's because you don't know how difficult it is to deal with those people. President Mo has been in this position for over 10 years, while you have only been in this position for a few days. Plus, if you really don't like this industry, then this position will be a shackle to you. I know, you talk too much, Mo Zian said as she lay on Gu Qingli's body. Mo Zian said as she lay on top of Gu Qingli's body. How could I not love the entertainment empire that my father single-handedly created? Hairue's sci-fi films, artists, and everything about Hairue is the best in the industry. As a member of the Mo family, it's my duty to protect this honor. So, you still know? Gu Qingli said as he carried her into the bedroom. Go have a bath and come out for dinner. Mo Zian nodded her head and grabbed her pajamas into the bathroom. But as soon as she entered the bathroom, she did not come out. It wasn't until Gu Qingli entered the bathroom that he took a closer look. Mo Zian was lying on the edge of the bathtub, fast asleep. From the looks of it, she was really tired. After all, how could Hairue's heavy responsibilities be taken on so easily? With this thought, Gu Qingli pulled Mo Zian out of the bathtub and placed her on the bed. This was his woman, so he naturally had to dote on her. However, Mo Zian was so tired. It seemed, apart from work, the couple had no other time to be intimate. Because of this, Mo Zian didn't want to give up. Plus, she hadn't had a chance to greet her roommates yet. So, she decided to take this opportunity to visit them at school. As soon as her roommates saw her, they all rushed to hug her. Where have you been? I haven't seen you in so many days. I was at work. You guys don't know how tiring it is to work. What do you do? I work as a secretary. Of course, she was working for her father. Mo Zian wasn't wrong to say that. So, you're not going to come to school anymore? You're indeed only interested in the opposite sex. The roommates chatted in the cafeteria. Soon, Gu Qingli arrived. When Mo Zian saw this, she immediately moved aside and let Gu Qingli sit down. The two sat very close to each other and were very intimate. Hey, I saw your rings. Did you guys propose? One of Mo Zian's roommates gossiped. Mo Zian looked at the ring on her finger and shook her head. I don't even know what's going on. How did I end up with a ring on my finger? I thought you guys were close to getting married. But, from the looks of it, you guys don't seem to care about what others think. I don't come to school often anymore, Mo Zian humphed. Don't bully my brother forward during class. Please, who would dare to bully Professor Gu? Unless they want to fail a class. As the roommates chatted, they had no idea that people around them had noticed the rings on their fingers. Previously, Gu Qingli had announced to everyone that he was married. But the person wearing the other pair of rings was actually a female student. This Professor Gu was actually in a teacher-student relationship. The school obviously didn't allow it. Was Professor Gu's reputation about to collapse? Mo Zian had no idea the impact that her visit to the school had on Gu Qingli. However, Gu Qingli noticed that the teachers and students looked at him strangely in various ways. So, this is the hypocritical Professor Gu. He looks like a decent person, but he's a hypocrite. Exactly. He claims that he's married, but he's still flirting with a female student. What a sanctimonious person. Gu Qingli occasionally heard rumors, but he did not pay much attention to them. But, lately, there had been more and more rumors around the school. Chapter 1265. As the conversation spread, it naturally reached Gu Qingli's ears. Of course, he did not refute them. He knew that the more he tried to explain, the worse it would get. Plus, the rumors were all true. In the end, the school leaders invited Gu Qingli into their office. The students had been gossiping too much lately, and it had affected the teacher's image. Qingli, although society is more open and relationships between teachers and students aren't a big deal anymore, especially when you're in the same generation, you're bound to develop feelings for each other. But, as you know, you've always been the center of attention at this school. Every move you make is watched by the students. Right now, the entire school is talking about you and that female student. Shouldn't you step out and clarify things? Headmaster, there's nothing to clarify. It's the truth, Gu Qingli replied gently. But you need to think of a solution. Are you really going to let the students continue to talk? Qingli, You also have to think about your future. After hearing this, Gu Qingli laughed. Headmaster, everyone has the freedom to speak their mind. I think we should respect it. You're right, but it doesn't look good. Look, no matter where you go these days, people are pointing fingers at you. Students are always saying things like, look, that professor is messing around with a female student. Don't you feel bad? Not at all. Gu Qingli replied straightforwardly. Headmaster, I've been here for quite some time. I'm sure you know what kind of person I am. If the school can't accept me, then my only option is to stop working for the school. What do you mean by that? The headmaster asked. He could tell that Gu Qingli was implying something. Are you saying that you want to resign? If everyone can't understand my private life, then I have no other choice. Gu Qingli had already made up his mind. If the school became too noisy, his career as a professor would come to an end. The headmaster sighed helplessly and waved his hand. You can leave first. Let me think about it. Gu Qingli nodded his head and left the office. Although people were gossiping about him, Gu Qingli did not feel embarrassed. After all, he knew that this was his private life, and he had a clear conscience. However, it didn't take long before Mo Xian's roommates called her to tell her about the rumors that Gu Qingli was receiving. Xian, someone saw you on campus the other day. That's why everyone is gossiping about Professor Gu behind his back. They're saying that Professor Gu's private life is messed up. If we look at it this way, you'll have to take responsibility. But fourth brother didn't tell me anything after he came home. Professor Gu is such a considerate person. Why would he complain to you? Her roommate reminded her. You should be more considerate. Don't always think about yourself. Professor Gu is having a hard time being alone in school. Okay, thank you for telling me all this. I know what to do now. Mo Xian gratefully hung up the phone and fell into deep thought. Of course, she did not immediately take action. She needed to know what the students were talking about, Gu Qingli. So, she sent her secretary to investigate. Soon, she found out about the impact the incident had on Gu Qingli. The initial rumors weren't as bad as they seemed. But, as the rumors spread, they had already turned into rumors that Gu Qingli had slept with a few female students. It wasn't that Gu Qingli didn't have the ability to clarify the rumors, but he didn't like wasting time on things like this, so when Gu Qingli returned home that night, Mo Xian looked at him unhappily. Brother Four, are you hiding something from me? Gu Qingli went downstairs to take care of his grandfather before he returned upstairs. He then hugged Mo Xian and changed the topic. Aren't you tired after working all day? I'm not tired. As soon as Mo Xian said this, Gu Qingli lifted her in his arms. Since you're not tired, let's do something else. Mo Xian was stunned. By the time she reacted, she had already been dragged into the bathroom by this man. As their clothes fell to the ground one piece at a time, the couple's bodies were finally exposed to each other. Mo Xian suddenly thought back to the night they had their first time in the bathroom. That night, they also completed the most important ceremony of their lives. Originally, she wanted to pursue the incident at the school, but Gu Qingli's kiss ignited a fire within her. This man was an expert. After that one kiss, he seemed to have evolved and was able to control every part of her body. It didn't take long before Mo Xian succumbed to Gu Qingli's tenderness. Her face turned red and her eyes became misty. Gu Qingli lost control of his emotions. A moment later, the perfect combination made the couple sigh in satisfaction. On the glass behind the two of them, the perfect shapes of their movements were soon drawn out. This time, they lasted for 2 hours. By the time Mo Xian lay in bed, she no longer had the energy to ask about the school. She slept all the way until the next morning. By the time she woke up, Gu Qingli had already disappeared. Gu Qingli's intention was clear. He didn't want Mo Xian to care about what other people thought because it was a waste of time. But how could Mo Xian let others talk behind her back? So, Mo Xian went to work as usual. But she instructed her secretary to arrange for her to visit the school's principal because Hai Rui might be visiting the school for filming. When the secretary heard this far-fetched reason, she was both amused and shocked. Mo Xian was obviously spoiling her husband, but she still did as she was told. After all, Mo Xian was the new CEO. It didn't take long before news of Hai Rui's upcoming filming spread throughout the school. This wasn't something that students were supposed to know about, but Immerse decided to spread the news. I heard that the representative from Hai Rui has come to the school to discuss renting a location. Does a matter like this require a representative from Hai Rui to personally come? I heard he's an alumnus. Not only that, he even donated a few $1,000,000 to the school. TSK, how generous. On that day, in order to highlight her identity, Immerse instructed her chauffeur to drive her family's limited edition Rolls-Royce and was accompanied by bodyguards. She wanted the entire school to know that Gu Qingli belonged to her. Soon, they arrived at the school. Immerse stepped out of the car in front of the students. Her every word and action was filled with experience. This was the power of a CEO. Chapter 1266. Apart from sighing at the sight of the person in charge of Hai Rui, the teachers and students were also surprised by how familiar he looked. Finally, someone reacted, "Isn't that Professor Gu's student? Now that you look at it, they do look alike, even though they're dressed differently." "No way. Professor Gu's girlfriend is actually from Hai Rui. Doesn't that mean we can see a lot of celebrities?" Just like that, Immerse swaggered into the headmaster's office. The headmaster was shocked, especially after he discovered her identity. When he thought about how he had previously made things difficult for Gu Qingli, he felt a little embarrassed. Who would have thought? Immerse is actually the heiress of the Mo family. I've truly offended you in the past. Headmaster, in the past, my family wanted me to keep a low profile, so I've never shown my real identity to anyone. But since I've already taken over as the CEO of Hai Rui, it doesn't matter anymore. Thinking about how Hai Rui needs my school's help, I took the initiative to recommend my alma mater. Headmaster, do you understand? The fact that Hai Rui was interested in them was the best form of publicity. Of course not. We can't ask for more. We hope that all our alumni can contribute to our alma mater. That's good. Immerse practiced Tai Chi in the headmaster's office for a while before she stood up and left. Afterwards, she returned to her original classroom and stood outside the door as she watched the class. Soon, some of the students noticed Immerse. When they saw her dressed like that, they were quite confused. As soon as the bell rang, Immerse's roommates immediately ran over to her. "Why did you come to see us at school?" "We came to discuss something." "Are you here to see Professor Gu?" "You're so heartless." The roommates laughed before they turned to Immerse. "Go to his office. You should be able to find him. I'll go first then. You guys continue with your class." At that moment, the roommates had no idea who Immerse was. Only when everyone started discussing did they realize what was happening. "Hey, do you guys know the new CEO of Hai Rui?" The roommates were confused by the question. "What do you mean? After all this time, didn't you know that you were hugging the heiress of the Mo family? The new CEO of Hai Rui?" That was when the roommates finally understood. Immerse was a jerk. At this moment, Immerse had completely prioritized her lover over her friends. So, she walked over to Gu Qingli's office and found him preparing for class. So, she knocked on his door and asked, "Can I come in?" As soon as Gu Qingli saw her, he could already tell that she had caused a commotion at school. "Didn't I tell you that the rumors aren't important? But I don't want people to gossip about you," Immerse humphed. Gu Qingli chuckled as he walked over to her and held her hand. "Are you sure you're innocent now? At least, no one will dare to speak ill of you anymore." Immerse was confident about this. As long as she changed her identity from a student to a CEO, the way people looked at them would change. Gu Qingli had no choice but to hold her hand and ask, "Are you hungry? Do you want to leave after dinner?" Of course, Immerse smiled. The young couple held hands and shuttled through the campus. The news had already spread among the students. "So that's the CEO of Hai Rui. Will Professor Gu be able to see a lot of celebrities? Can you also see my favorite Zhuang? I'm so envious of Professor Gu." At this point, Immerse's identity must have been announced to help Professor Gu establish his authority. The campus was still filled with discussions. But No matter how much they discussed, they only revolved around speculations and didn't have any dirty words. Immerse was very satisfied with this outcome. But there was now a rumor that Professor Gu was living off a woman. Immerse was helpless. Her brother Four had a high net worth. Of course, Gu Qingli did not allow Immerse to clarify this matter. If he's living off a woman, then so be it. It's not a big deal. These people are really... You should have expected this outcome when you came to school. I simply didn't want you to leave the school because I knew it was your father's last wish, Immerse explained in seriousness. I'm not being stubborn. After hearing this, Gu Qingli couldn't help but laugh. You don't need to explain yourself to me. Even if you did something wrong, I won't blame you. After hearing this, Immerse pounced into Gu Qingli's arms. I knew you were the most tolerant of me. The couple hugged each other tightly and did not notice that Immerse's roommates were trying to kill her. Immerse, you sure made it hard for us to hide it from you. You're so mean. Immerse looked at her roommates from afar and couldn't help but laugh. I was wrong. Unless you give us tickets to the concert, we will never forgive you. As my roommates, you do have this privilege. Immerse winked at her roommates. Okay, go back to work. There's no need to waste your time here because of me. Gu Qingli urged. He knew how busy Immerse was. In that case, let's talk about everything else at home. After saying goodbye to her roommates, Immerse left the school. Meanwhile, Gu Qingli returned to his office. But as soon as he arrived, his colleagues started laughing at him. I heard your wife is the CEO of Rue. How impressive. You created such a huge commotion this time because you wanted to show off your power at school. How generous. Qingli, you sure are lucky. But, in reality, Gu Qingli's net worth wasn't much less than the Mo family's. At least half of the properties currently under construction in Beijing were owned by him. But he did not explain himself. He knew that Immerse only did this because she doted on him. So, even if others said that he was living off a woman, he was willing to endure it. Because of Immerse's ruckus, the atmosphere in the school had changed drastically. The people that used to judge him would now visit him from time to time and ask if they could get autographs. Their attitudes were a lot friendlier. From this, one could imagine how attractive the young hunks were to these people. As for Gu Qingli, he was actually quite proud. After all, every single person that appeared on TV now had a new boss. In other words, his wife. With these two words in mind, Gu Qingli felt that it was time for him to do something. Plus, when he was with Immerse, he did not use any contraceptives. So, he was determined to have a happy ending with her before he had a child. Of course, not using contraceptives was Immerse's request. After all, she wanted a good baby like Xingxia. But Gu Qingli chose to let nature take its course. Chapter 1267. However, when Gu Qingli first met with Tongning mentioned that Gu Qingli had only passed her test, but he hadn't passed Mo Ting's test. At that time, Mo Ting was sick. So, as soon as he recovered from his cold, he naturally summoned the future son-in-law of the Mo family. This time, Mo Ting sent someone to pick up Gu Qingli without letting Immerse know. Although Gu Qingli knew this day would come, he still felt a little nervous when the time came. Mo Ting had been like this for decades, and it was hard to figure out his preferences. As for what he was thinking, perhaps only Tongning would be able to figure it out. If it was anyone else, Gu Qingli would have made some preparations. But when it came to Mo Ting and Tongning, even if he tried his best, he might not be able to gain their favor. Soon, Gu Qingli arrived at Hyatt Regency. This time, without Immerse around, Gu Qingli was a little more cautious, even though Tongning repeatedly told him not to be nervous. Mo Ting was in the study room. As he had not fully recovered from his flu, Tongning did not allow him to leave, although he had only caught a cold once in 3 to 4 years. Go in, Ting is inside. Gu Qingli nodded at Tongning and gently pushed open the study room door. Mo Ting, dressed in a black shirt, stood by the window and gazed into the distance. Come in. Gu Qingli approached Mo Ting. This man didn't look much different than he did 20 years ago, but the majestic aura he exuded was obviously stronger than before. Uncle Emo, take a seat. However, he did not look at Gu Qingli. Instead, he looked at the information in his hands and said to Gu Qingli, I've looked at Xian's situation over the past few days at Hyrule. I purposely gave her a few difficult tasks, but she easily solved them all. I'm sure you helped her a lot, didn't you? Gu Qingli was stunned. He suddenly didn't know how to answer that question. Because if he answered yes, then, as an outsider, it would not be good for him to interfere with other people's company's secrets. If he said that he didn't, it would be too much of a lie. I can't hide anything from Uncle. But actually, Xian already has a plan in her heart. It's just that she likes to slack off. In other words, he just loved Xian and helped her do what she wanted. I know better than you how capable she is. Mo Ting lifted his head and said to Gu Qingli, I know about your family situation, so I want to know what your definition of family is. Just tell me the truth. There's no need for such pompous words. Uncle, actually, I don't have much of a definition of a family. Before Xian appeared, I went to 2 places every day. I lived like that for 7 years, so I didn't know what a Daoist family was. It wasn't until Xian appeared that I started to look forward to my future with her and children. Gu Qingli replied seriously, Are you running your own company? Some assets. If I demand that you stop being a professor and take out an identity that matches my daughter's, what will you do? Since Mo Ting asked this, it meant that he already knew the reason why Gu Qingli was teaching at the university. Gu Qingli thought for a moment and replied, Xian won't let you do that. She knows that I won't be happy. If I'm unhappy, she'll be able to sense it. That's enough. After asking this question, Mo Ting paused for a moment. Actually, I don't have much of an opinion. The questions I asked were all questions that Xian's mother wanted answers to. Now that she's gone, I don't need to ask anymore. It turned out Tongning had been eavesdropping on them by the door. Gu Qingli couldn't help but laugh. I don't have any other requests. The Mo family won't allow anyone to bully them. If you make Xian unhappy, then as her father, I have no choice but to make you bankrupt and lose all your reputation. This isn't a threat. I'm a man of my word. You'd better be prepared to accept this. I understand, Uncle Mo. In my opinion, it's best if you don't hold a wedding so that her mother doesn't have to worry. If you want to hold one, then prepare it yourself. Just let her mother and I know when the time comes. Gu Qingli understood what Mo Ting meant. He suddenly felt like Mo Ting's authoritative aura had disappeared. He was simply a man that doted on his wife. He was a good husband and a good father. Of course, Tongning knew that if she hadn't stood in front of the study room, Mo Ting would have told Gu Qingli to take Mo Xian away and never return. What kind of father was that? But this was how things had been for the past few decades. Mo Ting's biggest fear was that his children would drag Tongning down. Although the children belonged to the 2 of them, Tongning had already worried too much about Mo Zichen and Mo Zishi. Now, that Mo Xian had someone to take care of, he couldn't wait for Gu Qingli to take over. Of course, Mo Ting had already done his homework on Gu Qingli. From his character, to his personality, to his ability, to his status, there was nothing to nitpick about. Most importantly, his daughter liked him. I understand, Uncle. I won't burden Auntie any longer. That's all. You can leave now. Gu Qingli felt things were easier than he imagined. But, in reality, Tongning was still a little worried. Of course, from the looks of it, Mo Xian had good taste. So, Gu Qingli stood up and walked into Mo Ting's study room for less than 20 minutes. Tongning waited helplessly for Gu Qingli to leave before she returned to the study room and muttered, Is the test over? Xian has already been under observation for 4 years. Did you think our test would work on her? I can't do anything about you. Tongning was speechless. It's been so many years. Why are you still so afraid of me, worrying about our children? The happier you are, the younger you will be, and the longer you will spend with me. Which father doesn't miss their daughter when they get married? You, on the other hand, can't wait to give Yin heir away, Tongning complained. Tongning couldn't help but blame. Actually, Yin heir is already the most worry-free child I know. How could you hand over your daughter so easily? What else could I do? You need to trust Yin heir's taste. Mo Ting said gently. By the way, I haven't recovered from my cold yet. Why do you keep nagging me? President Mo, if you're jealous, just say it. Tong Ning was helpless, but she still grabbed a jacket from the coat rack for her husband. You're already a grandfather, yet you're still so childish. That's because I can't bear to leave you. Right now, the world belongs to our children and grandchildren. We've made films for so many years and are tired. Why don't we go on a trip? What trip? You're just afraid that I'll worry about our daughter's marriage. I promise I won't get involved, okay? Chapter 1268. It wasn't until later that Mo Zian found out that Gu Qingli had been summoned by her father. When she first heard about it, she thought that Gu Qingli had been dragged away by her father for a fight. After hearing her thoughts, Gu Qingli was a little surprised. I'm afraid, apart from you, no one would think of their family like that. Uncle isn't as scary as you think. Mo Zian thought about it and realized that the old rascal at home wanted her to get married as soon as possible. That way, he wouldn't have to pester her about everything. So, what Gu Qingli said made sense. And Mo Ting wouldn't do anything that would scare his son-in-law away. You made me worry for nothing. I never wanted you to worry. Gu Qingli laughed. You're the one who's overthinking things. But, from what I heard, it doesn't seem like your father wants us to hold a big wedding. Of course, if we hold a wedding, my mother will make a big fuss. Of course, he doesn't want that. Brother Four, what do you think? I'll listen to you. What wedding? You haven't even proposed before. Mo Zian suddenly realized that she was at a disadvantage. Do you think that I'm so stupid that I'm easy to trick? Gu Qingli chuckled and comforted. You're just not guarded against the people you care about, and you're willing to give your all to them. That's more like it. Mo Zian was satisfied as she stretched out her hand. Now that we've talked about a wedding, what about a proposal ring? As soon as Gu Qingli heard this question, he pulled out a diamond ring from his shirt pocket. However, it wasn't brand new. This ring was given to my father by my grandfather, but my father eventually gave it to me. You know how much my father means to me, so I'm giving my most important thing to you. Whenever Mo Zian heard Gu Qingli mention her father, her heart would soften. So, before Gu Qingli could say anything else, she grabbed the ring and put it on her ring finger. I agree. Seeing how cute Mo Zian was, Gu Qingli pulled out a real proposal ring from his other pocket and knelt down on one knee. Silly. What do you mean you agree to? I haven't even proposed yet. Mo Zian was a little surprised as she realized she had been tricked. But when she saw Gu Qingli kneeling on one knee, she did not react. Instead, she looked into his eyes seriously. Actually, the heavens are very unfair. You've known me for 4 years, but I've only known you for a few short months. However, I don't think it's too late. Zian, you have the softest of hearts. You've given me the warmth that I've lacked the most in my life. That's why I want to spend the rest of my life with you, even if we haven't been through many storms yet. Since we've acknowledged each other, then let me be your husband. Let me take care of you, protect you, and accompany you for generations to come. What do you say? Thinking about the 4 years of unrequited love, Mo Zian couldn't help but tear up. But in the end, she got everything she wanted. I agree, but fourth brother, I have a request. Actually, our family has never held a grand wedding, because a happy marriage has nothing to do with weddings. So, is it okay if we don't hold a wedding and just register it? Actually, Gu Qingli understood what Mo Zian was thinking. So, he held on Mo Zian's hand and nodded his head. Ceremonies are meant for the elders to see. Since the elders are open-minded, then we should do things according to our own preferences. I don't have any elders in my family and grandfathers like this, so whether or not we have a ceremony doesn't really matter. I'm just afraid that you'll feel wronged. I won't feel wronged. As long as we're together, I won't feel wronged. Mo Zian felt very blessed. Of course, she also felt very lucky. She wasn't at all prepared for Gu Qingli's proposal. While she was in the living room, she received a ring. But where was the flower? Then, when she opened the bedroom door, she was completely shocked. The big white bed was covered with bright red roses. Gu Qingli couldn't help but pull her into his embrace and place a kiss on her chin. Under such a romantic atmosphere, the couple didn't waste their time. So, on the bed covered in rose petals, the couple intertwined and comforted the emptiness in each other's hearts. Gu Qingli had always been a refined man, but when it came to matters like this, he wasn't gentle at all. But Mo Zian loved the look on his face when he was in love. His doting expression made her lose herself even more. The rose petals underneath them were gradually crushed. It wasn't until dawn that the couple finally had their fill. By this time, Mo Zian had already fallen asleep from exhaustion. But no matter how tired Gu Qingli was, he still helped her wipe down her body and made sure she was comfortable before he hugged her to sleep. It was an unforgettable night for the couple, and it wasn't just because of the proposal. 2 days later, Mo Zian and Gu Qingli registered their marriage and officially became husband and wife. Afterwards, Mo Zian invited a few of her roommates out to meet. When they saw the sparkling ring on Mo Zian's finger, her roommates were extremely envious. "It's great that they got married like this. You guys should hurry up too," Mo Zian said with a happy smile. "But, Zian, you are, after all, the daughter of the Mo family and the heiress of a wealthy family. On the other hand, the professor may be elegant and handsome, but he doesn't have any background. Does this count as him marrying into the family?" After hearing her roommate's questions, Mo Zian couldn't help but laugh. "Who said he doesn't have any background? What do you mean? He's invested in half of the properties currently under construction in Beijing." After hearing this, her roommate's eyes grew wide. "Does that mean Professor Gu is secretly rich?" "More or less," Mo Zian replied. "You're way too lucky. You actually picked up such a good man. You guys can give it a try, too." Her roommates clicked their tongues, showing that they knew nothing about the life of a rich man. So, Mo Zian did not tell her family that she and Gu Qingli had registered their marriage. Instead, she simply shared the good news with her friends. After all, even though she and Gu Qingli were married, their lives did not change much. That was until 2 months later. Mo Zian was so busy with work that she completely forgot when her period was. Gu Qingli had already prepared a pregnancy test and was waiting for Mo Zian to wake up and give it to her for a thorough examination. When Mo Zian saw the pregnancy test, she finally realized that her stomach was slightly protruding. Was she pregnant already? Chapter 1269. Reality had proven that it was easy to be a parent without contraceptives and having sex every night, wasn't it? When Mo Zian saw the 2 lines on the contraceptive stick, she didn't know what to do. After quite some time, she finally realized that she was indeed going to be a mother. Previously, she was envious of her father, but now it was no longer necessary. "I know you're happy, but you can't be too happy," Gu Qingli reminded gently. "You're already a mother, so you can't be so impulsive, okay?" Mo Zian nodded her head, but she couldn't hide the excitement on her face. "I need to tell my parents about this as soon as possible so they can be happy. In that case, let's go home for dinner tonight," Mo Zian suggested. She had always fantasized about what it was like to be a parent. Although she had taken care of Xingzhe for a while, she wasn't satisfied. Now, she was going to have a little ball of her own. It was a wonderful feeling. Afterwards, Mo Zian gave Tongning a phone call, but she did not explain why. However, Tongning did not think too much about it. That night, when the couple returned to Hyatt Regency, Mo Zian was so happy that she almost forgot herself. This made Gu Qingli a little worried. "I told you not to be so impulsive and walk properly." As soon as Tongning saw the worried look on Gu Qingli's face, she could guess what was going on. So, before Mo Zian could respond, she asked, "Are you pregnant?" "Mommy, if your guess is so accurate, then there won't be any surprises. Your second brother is coming home tonight, and you haven't met him yet. Let's take this opportunity to meet him." After all, they were both teachers, so they should be on the same page. Gu Qingli nodded his head. He was curious about the 2 older brothers and had wanted to get to know them for a long time, but he never had the chance. But Gu Qingli's gaze remained on Mo Zian the entire time. He knew that she would never forget that she was pregnant. Because of this, Tongning did not ask Mo Zian. Instead, she asked Gu Qingli, now that you have a child, what about the wedding? To tell you the truth, we registered our marriage 2 months ago. You're not holding a wedding? Tongning had not noticed how Gu Qingli addressed her. Xian said that her family hasn't held a wedding yet, so she doesn't want to waste her energy on it. After all, a happy marriage isn't about a ceremony, Gu Qingli replied gently. It seemed he was always like this, calm and gentle. After Tongning heard this, she nodded her head. Since it's your choice, I won't say much. Xian is already pregnant, so as her husband, you should take good care of her. She may be capable, but she's not mature yet. She needs someone by her side to constantly guide her. I will definitely take good care of her. Don't worry, mother. Actually, Tongning had nothing to worry about. After all, Gu Qingli was mature and reliable. He took good care of everything. In the end, it was Mo Xian's personality that needed to be improved. But Tongning couldn't be bothered to scold her. A little while later, Mo Zichen returned home with Qianlong. Although he was a little surprised to see a stranger at home, he quickly regained his composure. After all, nothing could escape his eyes, including his brother-in-law. Oh, it's Professor Gu. As soon as Gu Qingli saw Mo Zichen, he could tell that he wasn't an ordinary person, especially his eyes. They seemed to be able to see through everything. Brother 2, Gu Qingli greeted Mo Zichen according to seniority. Sister-in-law. As soon as Mo Zian saw Qianlong, she immediately announced the good news. I'm pregnant. You're going to be an auntie. Mo Zichen looked at Gu Qingli. He never expected them to be so fast. I heard that brother 2 is a physics professor. I heard that too. Brother-in-law is quite accomplished in many fields. The two exchanged pleasantries, but everyone knew that Gu Qingli was a professor to hide his true identity. I never thought that I was already so famous. A certain someone has been secretly in love with you for 4 years. Based on this, your name is no longer unfamiliar to the entire family, Mo Zichen said as he glared at Mo Zian. Mo Zichen glared at Mo Zian and said to Gu Qingli, I've heard about what happened to you. If it wasn't you and it was another man, I would have broken their legs. Mo Zichen acknowledged Gu Qingli as a person. Gu Qingli started from scratch, kept a low profile, had a gentle temper, and never messed around. Based on these qualities, he was definitely a good match for his spoiled sister. Brother 2, you're too kind. If you ever need my help in the future, just let me know. Apart from our parents, you're the best at making money in this house. Who knows, I might even be the one to benefit from it. Ever since Mo Zichen revealed his identity to Mo Zishi, it was no longer a secret at home. After all, he had already been promoted to a bureau chief, so his identity was no longer a secret. As a result, it had been a long time since he went to school. Brother 2, it's enough that you've been lying to us all these years. Don't you dare lie to Brother 4 now, Mo Zian said in a protective tone. He's now working for the national security. He's amazing. No wonder Mo Zichen knew everything about him. It seemed, from the moment Mo Zian started to have a crush on him, Mo Zichen already knew everything about him. Of course, Mo Zian came back to announce the good news. After all, pregnancy was a great thing, so everyone was naturally happy. Now that even Mo Zian was about to become a mother, the burden on Tongning's shoulders was no longer as heavy as before. You've only been married for 2 months, and you're already pregnant. It seems you're really greedy for Brother Xingxia. Do you really like children that much? Mo Zichen couldn't help but tease her. Or perhaps, now that you've gotten your brother-in-law, you're going to hurry up and have a child? Stop talking about me. Are you afraid that everyone doesn't know what you've been through? You waited for sister-in-law for 5 years, and I waited for brother 4 for 4 years. Let's not hurt each other. Now that you mention it, Brother Xingxia is quite pitiful. He missed out on 4 years and was tricked by others like an idiot. What? Is tonight's theme a mutual attack? Tongning couldn't help but laugh. Mo Zichen also laughed. But in the end, he said in a serious tone, Mom, we've made you worry all these years. Now that Yin Er is married, you don't need to worry about us anymore. Instead, place your attention on Dad. That way, We won't have to suffer too much. Let's wait until Yen safely gives birth to the baby. Since Tongning had given birth to 3 children, how could she let them go so easily? Indeed, Ting didn't like it when she interfered with the children's matters. But, as a mother, how could she really let go? If the 3 of them didn't need her anymore, she would actually feel empty. That was something that no amount of love from Ting could make up for. Chapter 1270. The night passed quickly. The next morning, Gu Qingli took Zian to the hospital for a thorough checkup. After all, they were parent for the first time, so the couple were a little excited. However, after the checkup, the couple sat down in the office and noticed the doctor furrowing his brows. You didn't prepare for pregnancy. You got pregnant by accident, right? Yes, Gu Qingli replied. So, is there a problem? Under normal circumstances, we recommend that young couples get a full body checkup at the hospital before trying to have a child. That way, we can ensure the baby's health and find out if the parents have any illnesses. But both of us are considered healthy. That's not the case. Take your wife's ultrasound, for example. Apart from finding an embryo, we also found a tumor in her womb, the doctor said as he pointed to the results of the ultrasound. As soon as they heard the word tumor, the couple were stunned. But I don't think there's anything wrong with my body. A lot of illnesses show signs when they develop, but a lot of illnesses don't, the doctor explained. At the moment, we still need to do further tests to determine if the tumor is in this location. After all, the location of the tumor also affects the fetus. Right now, I just want to know if my wife's body... Don't worry, Mr. Gu. According to current medical standards, removing the tumor isn't a difficult task. Plus, the tumor may be benign, so you don't need to worry too much. But we need to confirm the location of the tumor and whether there are any other lumps. So, we need to do a more detailed checkup on your wife. What about the child? Zian couldn't help but ask. If we find out the location of the tumor and confirm that it could cause a miscarriage or premature birth, then you should consider aborting the child for treatment. After all, you're still young and have plenty of children in the future. When Zian heard that she was going to have an abortion, she shook her head. This is my child. I don't want to give up on it. Mrs. Gu, we haven't reached the point where we need to make a decision yet. Don't be in such a rush. The couple never expected that letting nature take its course would be so scary. Gu Qingli wrapped his arm around Zian's waist and apologized. It's all my fault. If I had been more thorough, this wouldn't have happened. Fourth brother, I insist on letting nature take its course. What can you do to me? At the end of the day, it was my own willfulness. It's not that bad, eh? Don't think too much about it. Let's treat him first, okay? But listen to me, Gu Qingli said gently. Zian's mind was a mess. She never imagined that she would have a tumor in her body. She never noticed it before, but now that she had a child, I'm scared. You don't have to be afraid of anything, I'm here. Gu Qingli encouraged Zian. After today's examination, let's go home first. We'll wait for the doctor's results before deciding what to do. Zian looked at Gu Qingli and took a deep breath before she calmed down. Listen to Brother 4. It was just that such an accident had happened to such a joyous occasion out of nowhere. Naturally, both of their moods were affected. Of course, Gu Qingli was more worried about Zian's health. Although he wanted to keep his child safe, the most important thing in his heart would always be his precious baby, Zian. After returning home, Zian returned to her bedroom and lay quietly in bed. Originally, Gu Qingli wanted to contact Tongning and Ting, but Zian stopped him. Before the results are out, don't tell Mom yet. She'll be worried. Let's wait and see what the doctor says first. Silly, when something happens, you should tell your family. Mom and Dad are experienced. They won't be easily scared. If you keep something like this from them, Mom will think that you're immature. How could you hide something so important from them? Gu Qingli lectured gently. After Zian heard this, she did not refute. After all, Gu Qingli was older than her, and he was thorough. Since Gu Qingli thought that she should tell her family, then she would listen to him. After all, this man reassured her the most. So, she no longer tried to stop him. Gu Qingli patted Zian on the head before he gave Tongning a phone call. and told her the results of today's checkup. After Tang Ning heard everything, she immediately said to Gu Qingli, "Send her to the military hospital. We have a few doctors at home, and none of them can treat her. It's just a minor illness." As for the other reason why Gu Qingli wanted to tell Tang Ning, it was because the Tang family not only had sister-in-law Yao Anqi, but they also had Tang Yichen and Lu Guangli. Their medical skills were outstanding, and they had seen all kinds of illnesses before. Afterwards, Tang Ning gave Tang Yichen a phone call. After Mo Zian heard about what happened, she couldn't help but blame herself. "I almost made the same mistake as a woman. How could you hide something from your family at a time like this for your own good? Huh? Even if it's torture, I'd rather know about your illness. Do you understand?" Gu Qingli asked. Mo Zian nodded. How could she not understand? Soon, Mo Zian was sent to the hospital where Tang Yichen was staying. As soon as Tang Ning saw Gu Qingli, she praised him. "You did well this time." "Mommy, I was being silly." Mo Zian immediately apologized. "I won't teach you a lesson now. After you recover, I'll deal with you." Soon after, Mo Zian was sent to the hospital for a checkup. Of course, as Tang Yichen's second auntie, she was even more devoted to her niece. As soon as she saw the results, she immediately gave Tang Ning the results. The previous hospital's diagnosis was accurate, but it was a little slow. The location of the tumor is confirmed to be between the muscle wall and will affect the pregnancy. Plus, we can't confirm whether the tumor is benign or malignant. I trust you, so just tell me how I should resolve it, Tang Ning said to Tang Yichen. Let's observe the tumor for a week and do further tests. If the tumor doesn't show any signs of growing, we can rule out the possibility of it being malignant. After that, the treatment will be a lot easier. But if there are any changes to the tumor, we will need to extract it for testing. The child, Zian, loves children, so of course I'll do my best to keep it safe for her. Isn't that obvious? Tang Yichen laughed. Speaking of which, I haven't met my niece's husband yet. Qingli, come greet your auntie, Tang Ning said as she turned to the man behind her. Chapter 1271. This was Tang Yichen's first time meeting Gu Qingli. Normally, she didn't have much to say to this son-in-law. But as soon as she laid eyes on him, she couldn't help but feel a little confused. She looked at Gu Qingli seriously and carefully. In fact, she didn't even hear Gu Qingli call out to her. Sister too? Tang Yichen immediately responded, I know Gu Qingli. However, her attitude was neither cold nor warm. Although Gu Qingli didn't know how he had offended Tang Yichen, he had no complaints. As long as Tang Yichen took good care of Mo Zian, he didn't care about anything else. Of course, Tang Ning also had a question in her mind, but she did not ask it on the spot. After all, Mo Zian was the most important thing right now. Since Tang Yichen said that Mo Zian would be under observation, it was best for Mo Zian to stay in the hospital and cooperate with the doctors. Originally, Mo Zian wanted to return Hai Rui to Mo Ting for a while. But Gu Qingli said to her, Father has already handed it over to you, so there's no reason for you to return it. While you're in the hospital, I'll help you deal with some matters. Then, I'll show it to you and give you a reply after confirming it. But what about the school? I've applied for leave, Gu Qingli replied. Right now, nothing is more important than you. Mo Zian nodded her head, but she still remembered Tang Yichen's reaction. Brother 4, have you met Annie before? Gu Qingli carried Mo Zian into the VIP room and shook his head. I don't think I've ever met Annie before, so I'm not sure what misunderstandings Annie has towards me. But there's no need to ask right now. Time will reveal a person's heart. I'm sure Annie will find out what kind of person I am. Annie is a straightforward person. She doesn't beat around the bush like Mom. So, if you've really offended Annie, you could just talk to her, and everything will be fine. Gu Qingli nodded his head, but he had his own doubts. At that moment, Tang Ning and Tang Yichen were discussing Mo Zian's health in the office. But Tang Ning also asked, from the looks of it, do you know Gu Qingli from the past? Has he seen through me? Your emotions are written all over your face. I'm afraid I'm not the only one who can tell you, my son-in-law, Tang Yichen glared. If I tell you, don't be angry. Speak. I think I've seen your son-in-law bring a girl to the hospital and visit the gynecology department. Because he was handsome, I could remember him. You know how I am. If I have something to say, I will say it. Although if I say it out loud, it will definitely cause discomfort between the two of you. But I can't hold it in. In Xian's current situation, I don't want her to meet an irresponsible man. Okay, just focus on taking care of Xian. Tongning took these words to heart. In fact, this was something that had happened before Guqing's divorce. As his elders, it was impossible for them to pursue it. Regardless of whether what Tang Yichen saw was real or not, what if it was just a simple resemblance? Because of this, Tongning kept her doubts to herself. Afterwards, she headed to the hospital room to see what Immerse Xian needed, so she could go home and prepare. But just as she reached the door, Gu Qingli said, "Mother, let me walk you out." Why would she need to send it off? Gu Qingli simply had something to ask. That was good too. Let's go, Tongning said. Gu Qingli gestured for Immerse Xian to wait for a while before he left the room and walked beside Tongning. You noticed? Tongning smiled. Annie's expression was so obvious. Not only did I notice, but Xian also noticed. Gu Qingli smiled gently. Gu Qingli smiled gently. Although I'm not sure what Annie misunderstood, I'm sure her impression of me is terrible. Indeed, Qingli, as elders, it's not appropriate for us to comment on the matters of the young. Especially when it comes to your past, we have no right to interfere. But I hope you can consider Yen'er's feelings. She needs you to take care of her. Mother, although I don't know what Annie saw or what she misunderstood, Xian was my first love. Although we haven't known each other for long, and we haven't been married for long, I've always kept my distance from women. I've never crossed the line. Gu Qingli explained in seriousness. If I had feelings in the past, or was involved with another woman, there's no reason for me to hide it. That's all you need to know, Mother. After hearing this, Tongning nodded her head. Gu Qingli was actually quite patient. She trusted Gu Qingli and Tang Yichen. So, there must be some misunderstanding. In that case, have you been to this hospital before? Today was my first time, Gu Qingli replied. Okay, I understand, Tongning replied. Go home and take care of Yen'er. Nothing is more important than her and the child in her stomach right now. Okay, how smart was Gu Qingli? Since Tongning asked this question, it meant that Tang Yichen had seen him come to the hospital in the past with a woman. But it was true that he hadn't been here. Tang Yichen must have seen it wrong or remembered it wrong. After thinking it through, Gu Qingli returned to the room to find Immerse Xian asking, "What did Mommy say?" Mother said that Andy was probably unhappy because she saw me come to the hospital with a woman, Gu Qingli explained. In that case, have you been here before? Immerse Xian asked. Gu Qingli shook his head. Of course not. You're well aware of my life over the past 4 years, aren't you? That's true. But Gu Qingli dragged out his last syllable to express his confusion. I believe what Annie said. I don't know why, but she has no reason to slander me. Regardless, I believe in your character. Over the past few years, no one knows your situation better than I do. I'm glad you know. Get some rest. Gu Qingli helped Immerse Xian lie down. Gu Qingli helped Immerse Xian lie down. Either way, I'm worried that you're pregnant and sick. Don't worry, Auntie and Uncle's medical skills are very good. I'll be fine. Gu Qingli nodded his head and gestured for her to close her eyes. As for Tang Yichen, he still needed to meet her. Otherwise, if the misunderstanding continued and Xian got hurt, what would he do? So, after Immerse Xian fell asleep, Gu Qingli headed over to Tang Yichen's office. At that time, Tang Yichen was looking at some medical records. When she lifted her head and saw Gu Qingli, she immediately felt displeased with his son-in-law. Auntie, don't call me Auntie yet. I haven't acknowledged you yet, Tang Yichen replied. Why are you looking for me? Chapter 1272. Gu Qingli sat down in front of Tang Yichen and paused for a moment before he said, I know you don't particularly like me and may even be prejudiced against me. Although I don't know what made you so angry, I hope I can have a word with you to clarify everything. Otherwise, Mother and Xian will be stuck in a difficult position. So you know how difficult it is Tang Yi-chin humphed. Let me ask you, have you ever been to this hospital before? This is my first time here. But I've clearly seen you bring a woman to the hospital for an abortion, Tang Yi-chin replied. It's because your looks aren't common, so I've remembered you. After hearing this, Gu Qingli felt a little helpless. In that case, Annie, do you remember what day it was? It wasn't long, no more than a year ago. Gu Qingli thought for a moment and said helplessly, Zian is my first and only girlfriend. I've always been a teacher at school, and I've never had much contact with a woman. If I did, there's no way Zian wouldn't know. After all, she's already been observing me for 4 years. Are you saying that I'm seeing things? Tang Yi-chin asked as she raised an eyebrow. Annie, if you've actually seen me at the hospital, then the hospital must have surveillance cameras and files. You might be able to find out. So, before that, you don't need to try and please me. That will only make me dislike you even more. Okay, Gu Qingli nodded. But please take care of Zian. After speaking, Gu Qingli stood up and did not give Tang Yi-chin a chance to continue her annoyance. So he did as he said. Even when Tang Yi-chin went to the hospital room to examine Immerse Zian, he did not say a word and remained silent the entire time. This made Tang Yi-chin feel a lot better. At the very least, Gu Qingli's patience wasn't bad. Of course, Tongning knew that once Tang Yi-chin became suspicious, she would definitely give her son-in-law a hard time. So, she reported this matter to Mo Ting and instructed Hai Rui to investigate whether Gu Qingli had any past affairs. Of course, the Mo family had their reasons to believe that Gu Qingli was innocent. But Tang Yi-chin had to believe it first. As soon as Mo Zichin heard about this, he did not give Hai Rui a chance to make a move. Instead, he handed Tongning a file. When I first found out Zian liked this person, I investigated it. You can show it to your auntie. Qingli is indeed worthy of our trust. Tongning received the information and looked through everything about Gu Qingli, including his childhood. At the same time, he finally understood why Mo Zian liked Gu Qingli. After all, he had suffered so much, but he still maintained such a gentle heart. So, it wasn't surprising that Mo Zian was attracted to him. This auntie of mine, she used to hate seeing you fight with Tang Xian, so she spent most of her time at the hospital. At that time, she refused to side with anyone. But, in the end, she still had the heart to fight for justice. Your auntie has been like this for the rest of her life, Tongning smiled. Then, she took the information and went to the hospital. But, at this time, Gu Qingli had already received a scolding from Tang Yi-chin. Her tone towards Gu Qingli had not been friendly the entire time, but Gu Qingli did not complain at all. It was hard to tell where he learned his patience from. Afterwards, Tongning arrived at the hospital and placed Gu Qingli's information in front of him. If you don't believe Qingli's explanation, you should at least believe in Hai Rui and Zichin's investigation. If Zichin didn't object, did you think you weren't seeing things? Tang Yi-chin took a deep breath and waited for quite some time before she finally opened up Gu Qingli's information and looked through it. So, this child has experienced something like this. That's why you need to be nicer to him. According to Qingli's wealth, he only has one woman, Zian. That's more than enough to keep himself clean. Tang Yi-chin sighed and nodded her head. Okay. Actually, if she thought about it carefully, Gu Qingli's behavior from the beginning was a plus. He was meticulous towards Zian and respectful towards Tongning. As for her, even though her attitude was so bad, Gu Qingli did not show any signs of anger. So, after reading through Gu Qingli's information, Tang Yi-chin's impression of him changed. If you know you've wronged him, you should apologize to the youngsters. But I actually saw it that day. People all look alike. How could you be so sure that it was Gu Qingli? Forget it. I was wrong in this matter. Is that okay? So, when it was time to do her rounds, Tang Yi-chin walked into Mo Zian's room and said to Gu Qingli, I've indeed misunderstood you. Gu Qingli shook his head. He didn't mind at all. Meanwhile, Mo Zian laughed. Auntie, I've been keeping track of Brother Four's whereabouts for the past 4 years. So, I'm the first to not believe that he's been in contact with another woman. Luckily, you trusted me enough. Otherwise, I would have become the villain that tried to sow discord. Brother Four wouldn't think of you that way. Mo Zian replied. By the way, how's my body? That's right. Andy, how is Zian? With the mention of Zian's condition, Tang Yichen's expression turned a lot more serious. From the looks of it, the tumor has been growing, so, it's malignant. Gu Qingli immediately stood up. Let's observe it for another 2 days. If it continues to grow, you two need to be mentally prepared. You can't have a child. After hearing this, Imogen tightened her grip on the blanket as her eyes turned red. Auntie, do we really have to abort it? What do you think? You can always have another child, but you can't waste your body. I'm not giving you a choice. I'm simply informing you. Gu Qingli took this opportunity to hold onto Mo Zian's hand. Don't be afraid. Listen to your auntie, okay? Mo Zian took a deep breath. She simply couldn't bear to do it. After all, this was a life, and it was her and Gu Qingli's child. Brother 4, you're a child of the Mo family. Can't you get over something as simple as this? Tang Yichen asked. Of course not. Mo Zian held on to Gu Qingli's hand. Auntie, I'm fine here. You can go back to work. Tang Yichen nodded her head. Since Gu Qingli was by her side, he should be able to comfort her. Fourth brother, can I really not protect the child? You're more important, Gu Qingli replied firmly. Chapter 1273. But I want this child. I really want it. Mo Zian said in a sobbing tone. Gu Qingli hugged her and patted her on the back comfortingly. Let's listen to Auntie's decision. Mo Zian cried in Gu Qingli's arms for a while before she finally fell asleep from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Gu Qingli stayed by Mo Zian's side the entire night and did not get a wink of sleep. To make Mo Zian happy, he even gave her roommates a phone call and told them to visit her at the hospital. Mo Zian was happy to see them. But she was also sad. That's why you guys need to take care of your health and do more checkups. Don't be like me, only to find out, Tui, what's wrong with you? Who's your auntie? Who's your uncle? In their eyes, this illness of yours is just child's play. Okay? You're the only one that's sad. If you can't keep the child, then there's nothing you can do. Do you want your parents and Professor Gu to worry about you day and night before you're satisfied? Are you willing to do that? After hearing their advice, Mo Zian looked at Gu Qingli and shook her head. Of course I'm not willing. That's why you're holding on to something that doesn't make sense. That's true. Mo Zian felt a little better after hearing this. Most importantly, the people in front of her pointed out her worries. If she continued to wallow in self-pity, her family and brother 4 would be sad for a long time. So, she couldn't bear to do that. You're already an adult. Don't be stubborn, okay? What's so great about being the heiress of the Mo family? The three of them continued to criticize Mo Zian, but everything they said made sense. Mo Zian was indeed protected by her family, but because she was a member of the Mo family, she had to pull herself together. Mo Zian's mood completely changed because the girls didn't disappoint her. So, after they left, Gu Qingli laughed. So, Mom and I aren't as important as your roommates. I was just confused at first, but now that I've thought it through, I'll listen to Annie. While no one was in the room, Gu Qingli reached out and hugged Mo Zian. I'm glad you're obedient, because she had thought it through. Mo Zian was a lot more cooperative. But after 2 days of tests, Tang Yichen received a more accurate answer. It's malignant. You need to prepare for surgery as soon as possible. After Mo Zian heard Tang Yichen say this, she sighed. Meanwhile, Gu Qingli hugged her and comforted. Zian will be fine, okay? I know, I can't bear it. It's good for you to have a surgery as soon as possible. I've already discussed it with your mother. Don't worry. You'll have another child in the future. Auntie, I'm fine. Mo Zian nodded and comforted Tang Yichen. Mo mean, after Mo. After the Mo, the family Tang, and Mo Zian said. Mo Ching Shan. Mo, the Mo were. Mo, Yao, Mo. To Mo said, Yao, and to Tang, Mo to Tang, Ang Chun, Mo. The initial recovery rate was very high, but whether or not it would relapse depended on how well she took care of it. Don't worry. Your uncle will personally perform a surgery. There were a lot of people around during the day, so Zian held in her emotions and did not explode. After everyone left, she sat on a hospital bed and began to cry. Gu Qingli had no choice but to carry her to the hospital garden for a walk. Why are you still sad? No matter what happens to you, I will take good care of you. Why are you still so sad? Do you not trust me? Zian shook her head and turned to look at Gu Qingli. I'm still afraid, and I feel guilty towards the child in my stomach. I've heard about Uncle's medical skills. In all these years, he's never failed to save a patient. Plus, he's seen a lot of situations like yours. So, you don't need to be afraid. As for this child, she reported to the hospital early. Let's enter home first and let her report to the hospital again after you've recovered. What do you think? After hearing this, Zian couldn't help but laugh. You've always been calm and collected. I've never seen you anxious before. I am anxious, Gu Qingli replied. But no matter how anxious I am, I can't let you see me because I'm your pillar of support. Zian stretched out her hand and patted Gu Qingli's tired face. Over the past few days, he had been exhausted. Zian's heart ached. But to reassure Gu Qingli, she pulled herself together. The surgery was scheduled for 2 days later. The surgery was to terminate Zian's pregnancy and remove the tumor. Meanwhile, apart from listening to Tang Yichen's instructions, Gu Qingli also hired a Chinese medicine specialist. He knew that with advanced technology, Zian's life could be saved, but Western medicine was too harmful to the body. Plus, Zian still needed Chinese medicine to recuperate. This was something that Tang Yichen had not told Gu Qingli yet. But he went ahead and met with the specialist to come up with a treatment plan. This made Tang Yichen feel guilty. She had indeed misunderstood Gu Qingli and underestimated how important Zian was to him. He even bought a lot of medical books and left them at home. He was willing to stop being a professor and focus on taking care of Zian. For the sake of Zian, Gu Qingli was willing to give up on his father's dying wish. Zian watched silently as Gu Qingli worked hard over the past few days. But all she could do was sit in bed and feel guilty. If she hadn't told Gu Qingli her heartfelt words on the day she left the university, perhaps he would still be at the university and living his normal life and wouldn't be as tired as he was right now. But now, Gu Qingli was working hard for her, while Tongning, could see the emotions in her daughter's eyes. It was the same as the way she looked at Ting. Qingli has treated you like this, so you need to love him well, okay? Mommy, don't worry. I will never leave Brother 4. Zian replied confidently. I will always be by his side. Just like you and Dad, we will love each other for the rest of our lives. After hearing this, Tongning patted Zian's cheek happily. Don't be afraid for tomorrow's surgery. We will all be there. Don't worry. I trust Uncle and I trust that I won't be that unlucky. Nonsense. But what about Gu Qingli? Every time he looked into Zian's eyes, his gaze was filled with love and trust. It was like he was saying, I've never regretted being with you, and that day will never come. Chapter 1274. The next morning, Zian woke up early. Gu Qingli helped her prepare for the surgery and held on to her right hand the entire time. Don't be afraid. I'll be here the entire time. Not only did everyone from the family arrive, even Zian's roommates were present. Tang Yichen followed behind Lu Guangli. Meanwhile, Lu Guangli's expression remained cold. Obviously, if it wasn't a member of the family, he wouldn't have accepted a surgery like this. But all these years, he and Tang Yichen were like the family's doctors. Whenever the family felt unwell, they would look for Tang Yichen, and Tang Yichen would grab him. This time, Zian's illness was probably the most serious illness that he had treated for the family in years. We're ready, Dr. Lu, the nurse in the operating room reminded them as she walked out of the door. Then let's go in. But just as she was about to enter the operating theater, Zichen and Zishi approached Zian to comfort her. Don't worry. Big brother and second brother are waiting for you outside. Don't be the most useless person in the family, okay? Mo Zian smiled and looked for Gu Qingli. Wait for me to come out. I want to eat something good. What do I want to eat? I'll buy it for you. Fourth brother, it'll be fine. Trust me. Gu Qingli comforted her. Don't be afraid, okay? Zian, everyone is waiting for you. What is there to be afraid of? Her roommate also smiled at her. I'm still waiting for you to recover so that you can take us to the concert. Don't go back on your word. Don't worry, I won't. Mo Zian smiled. That's good. Mo Zian looked at the group and then at Tongning and Mo Ting. Knowing that everyone was present, she felt a little relieved. She then allowed Tang Yichen to push her into the operating theater. Actually, everyone could predict the result, but it was a pity for the baby. All these years, the Mo family had been doing well. But Tongning never expected that Mo Zian's baby would be lost. But nothing was more important than his daughter's life. As Gu Qingli sat on the bench in silence, Tongning approached him and patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry, trust in your uncle's medical skills. I know, mother. Mo Zian was in the operating theater for 2 hours while everyone waited outside. Although everyone trusted in Lu Guangli's medical skills, they still couldn't help but worry. Soon after, the lights in the operating theater went off, and Lu Guangli walked out of the operating theater. His expression was as cold as ever as he said, "The tumor has been completely removed, so naturally, the embryo can't be left behind. In the next few years, we'll have to look at your body's condition to determine if you can have a child. You have to be mentally prepared." Brother-in-law, Zian's body. It's nothing serious. After saying this, Lu Guangli left. Tang Yichen was going to explain the rest to everyone. Actually, everyone expected this outcome. Unfortunately, no matter how much Mo Zian loved children, she couldn't have one in the short term. In fact, she might not even be able to have one in this lifetime. Qingli, can you accept this result? Mother, to me, Zian is more important. As for the rest, let nature take its course. There's no need to force it. That's good. Tongning relaxed when she saw Gu Qingli's attitude. A moment later, Mo Zian was wheeled out of the operating theater with Tang Yichen following behind. She said to everyone, "Don't worry too much. As long as she goes for regular checkups, there won't be any problems. Plus, Zian is still young and has a good recovery rate. She won't stay in hospital for too long." "Thank you, Auntie." Gu Qingli bowed to Tang Yichen. "She's also my niece. Why are you thanking me? As long as you take good care of Zian, you don't need to thank me. I'm not worried about Zian's health. I'm just worried about her mood. You guys should try to comfort her." Even if Tang Yichen didn't mention this, everyone would have noticed. Afterwards, Mo Zian stayed in the hospital for almost a month before she left. No one hid the fact that she couldn't have a child for the time being, and she didn't take it to heart. But Gu Qingli knew that she kept her sadness to herself. Because of this, Gu Qingli decisively resigned from his position as a professor and returned home to spend time with Mo Zian. He also focused on his research in Chinese medicine. After all, he knew that Mo Zian's body needed a long time to recover. From this time onwards, Mo Zian's body would occasionally emit the scent of medicine. At the same time, bottles and jars would often appear in their home. This made Mo Zian helpless. "Brother 4, isn't it a little too late for you to invest in Chinese medicine? As long as I have the heart, it's never too late." Chinese medicine was gentle and took a long time to take effect, so it required Mo Zian's long-term cooperation. If he didn't accompany Mo Zian, it wouldn't be easy for her to persevere. Mo Zian smiled and let him be. She knew that Gu Qingli was simply worried about her health. Sometimes, she would complain that the medicine was bitter, but as long as Gu Qingli said something, she would surrender. "I simply hope that you won't end up like my father and can stay with me longer." As soon as Mo Zian heard this from Gu Qingli, she had no choice but to raise her hand. "Fine, I can endure it no matter how bitter it is." Mo Zian never asked Gu Qingli if he was the one who prescribed the medicine or if there was a professional doctor. All she cared about was drinking. Over the course of 3 months, she only went to the hospital once for a checkup, and her body actually recovered well. Tang Yichen couldn't help but sigh. "I heard that Gu Qingli found the best Chinese medicine doctor for you." I never thought that the results would be so good. If you take care of yourself like this, who knows, maybe you'll get pregnant soon. Really? Emozian was pleasantly surprised. Your checkup report shows that you're doing well. Keep it up. Not only did Gu Qingli make Emozian take medicine, he also took her on a tour around the country. The couple lived their entire lives in the Mo family, but they ended up living carefree lives. As for the heavy responsibility of Hai Rui, Mo Ting had no choice but to take it back. After all, he only looked like he was in his early 40s, so Mo Zian was still carefree for a few more years. Over the course of a year, Mo Zian was taken care of by Gu Qingli until she was chubby and healthy. Even so, Gu Qingli did not insist on having a child. Even though Tang Yichen was surprised to find out during a recent checkup that Mo Zian's uterus had improved a lot and she was able to get pregnant, Gu Qingli did not mention this to Mo Zian. However, Gu Qingli did not tell Mo Zian about this. He simply hoped that Mo Zian would always be as happy as she was now. Soon, news arrived from Beijing that Mo Ting was planning to hold a wedding, so he told Gu Qingli to take Mo Zian home as soon as possible. As soon as Mo Zian heard this, she was elated. Mom and Dad have been married for so many years, but they've never held a wedding. Now, Dad is finally planning to make up for this regret with Mom. Chapter 1275. So, Tongning and Mo Ting were actually getting married. The couple's relationship was a well-known story in the industry. However, the couple kept a low profile and rarely showed their affection in public. So, this time, Mo Ting decided to give Tongning a grand wedding. In total, the couple were in their early 50s. But because they took good care of themselves, they only looked like they were in their 40s. Even now, Tongning's figure was something that not many people her age could compare to. At that time, everyone in the Mo family was busy preparing for Tongning and Mo Ting's wedding. Of course, Mo Zian was an exception. After wandering around for an entire year, Mo Zian finally returned to Beijing. As soon as she saw her family, Mo Zichen couldn't help but laugh. The Mo family all have fair skin. Look at yourself, you're tanned. You don't look like a member of the Mo family at all. Brother too, we haven't seen each other for a year. Can't you give in me a little? Why are you always so mean when you see me? Seeing the siblings bickering, Gu Qingli approached Tongning and Mo Ting and greeted, "Father, Mother, it's good that you're back. By the way, how's Zian doing?" Tongning asked. The doctor said that the chances of a relapse are very low. Plus, she's recovering well. Gu Qingli replied. Mommy, it's all because of Brother Four's medicine, Mo Zian praised. Mo Zian couldn't help but praise Mo Zian. Actually, before I came back, I always thought the medicine he gave me was prescribed by the doctor. But a few days ago, I went to my auntie for a checkup. That's when I found out that he made the medicine himself. Qingli, Mother, don't worry. I only dared to do this because of the doctor's guidance, Qingli explained. I would never joke around with Zian's health. That's good. Mo Zian looked proud, and her complexion looked even better than before. This was proof that Gu Qingli had taken good care of her. Her face was rosy, and her teeth were white. With this complexion, no one would believe that Mo Zian was still sick. However, because they were afraid of upsetting Mo Zian, Mo Zishi and Mo Zichen did not bring their son with them. But Mo Zian continued to look for Xingzhe. Where's my precious nephew? Mo Zishi glared at her and realized she didn't understand his good intentions at all. At home, I didn't bring it with me. I was afraid you wouldn't let go of my son. Big brother, you're really petty. You bit me? Actually, the entire family was careful and considerate of Mo Zian's feelings. Although Mo Zian tried her best to act like she didn't care, everyone knew how sad she was that she couldn't have children for the time being. Gu Qingli pulled Mo Zian into his arms and lectured. Big brother just doesn't want you to be sad. Why do you have to ruin my plans? Because we don't have children? Hee hee. Annie already said that my body is fine and I can get pregnant. Just you wait. I will definitely get pregnant as soon as possible. Brother-in-law, catch him and teach him a lesson. You've really spoiled him. Emozishi couldn't help but snort. That's enough. Today's main characters are Mom and Dad. Yao Anchi reminded Emozishi. That's right. No matter how big the situation is, the two of you need to step aside, Qianlong agreed. The siblings laughed and turned to look at Tongning and Mo Ting. Mommy, I heard that Dad personally made your wedding dress. Why don't you let me take a look? Tongning glared at Mo Zian, but she did not reject. Come up. The mother and daughter went upstairs and entered the bedroom. When they saw the handmade diamond wedding dress hanging in Tongning's bedroom, they looked at it enviously. Mommy, Dad can actually make something like this? It's a little simple, but I can imagine how serious he looks when he places the diamonds one by one into the dress. He lured it behind my back, Tongning replied. After hearing this, Mo Zian was so moved that her eyes turned red. It's because Dad really loves you. Tongning knew. She had known it from the moment they got married. When she thought about how they had arranged their wedding at the Civil Affairs office, Tongning couldn't help but laugh. Even though it had been a long time, she still remembered how brave she was to kidnap the CEO of Hai Rue and arrange their wedding. Mommy, I really want to see you in your wedding dress. Wasn't that simple? In 2 days, Tongning and Mo Ting's wedding of the century would be held. This time, Mo Ting did not limit himself to the media and entertainment reporters. He wanted everyone in the city to know how much he doted on Tongning. On the day of the wedding, the entire city was in an uproar. Whether it was within or outside of the entertainment industry, everyone was talking about their wedding. The wedding was held by the seaside with flowers as a backdrop. Today, everyone in the city would be able to see Mo Ting in his white suit and Tongning in her wedding dress. Mommy, you're really beautiful. As soon as Mo Zian saw Tongning in her wedding dress, her eyes turned red. I'm sure Dad won't be able to control himself if he sees this. Tongning held on her veil as she looked at Mo Zian and hugged her. The three of you need to be happy too. That way Mom and Dad won't have to worry. Okay, Mommy, Mo Zian said as she patted Tongning on the back. She then extricated herself from Tongning's embrace and helped her adjust her dress. Get ready, it's almost time to go on stage. At this moment, Tongning no longer cared about her children. She was looking forward to seeing Mo Ting in his white suit. The man that she loved the most, the person that she loved the most. At this moment, the sky was blue and the clouds were white. A gentle breeze blew past, and the air was filled with the scent of roses. At this moment, the wedding march began to play. Tongning wore her veil as she walked through the arch of flowers and stood at one end of the carpet. At the other end, Mo Ting was dressed in a white striped suit. His body was tall and sturdy. It hadn't changed over the years. He exuded a noble and extraordinary aura. Afterwards, he slowly walked over to Tongning, held her hand, and placed it in the crook of his arm. Mrs. Mo, you may have to work hard for this marriage for the rest of your life. Tongning looked through her veil and saw Mo Ting's eyes. As expected, they were slightly red. We're already an old married couple. Why are you still so emotional? That's because I still want to dote on you for another 50 years. Not too far away, the 3 pairs of children watched their parents' wedding and felt satisfied. Who wouldn't be envious of a love like this? However, under this atmosphere, Mo Zichen couldn't help but cause trouble for Mo Zian. Look at you. You've been gone for over a year. Who's going to shoulder the burden of Hai Rue? Brother 2, what's so good about being a division chief? Hai Rue was handed to you to begin with, Mo Zichen emphasized. I'm going back on my word. I just can't get tired. How about this? If you can give me a nephew, I'll consider quitting my division chief position and replacing you as the CEO of Hai Rue, Mo Zichen promised. Are you serious? Mo Zian's eyes lit up. Over the next few years, who said that Mo Zian couldn't give birth? Her frequency of having one per year was way too high. Okay, end of the article. Trial Husband, Do Well will continue to be updated on Qingdao Novel website. There are no advertisements on the website, so please bookmark it and recommend it to us. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.